4 months with reduced redness, thickness, and scaliness of plaques. And the Otezla prescribing information has no requirement for routine lab monitoring. Don't use if you're allergic to Otezla. Otezla may cause severe diarrhea, nausea, or vomiting. Tell your doctor if these occur. Otezla is associated with an increased risk of depression. Tell your doctor if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts, or if these feelings develop. Some people taking Otezla reported weight loss. Your doctor should monitor your weight and may stop treatment. Other side effects include upper respiratory tract infection and headache. Tell your doctor about all the medicines you take and if you're pregnant or planning to be. Ask your dermatologist about Otezla today. Otezla, show more of you.
Mike and I are both veterans, both served in the Navy. I do outrank my husband, not just being in the military, but at home.
She thinks she's the boss. She only had me by 1 grade. We bought our first home together in 2010.
His family had used another insurance product, but I was like, I've had USAA for a while. Why don't we call and check the rates?
It was an instant savings, and I should have changed a long time ago.
There's no point in looking elsewhere, really. We're the Tennies, and we're USAA members for life.
USAA. Get your insurance quote today.
Every time I smiled, I had to cover my mouth because I was so ashamed. When the denture slipped, I would have to excuse myself and go to the restroom virtually in tears. It kept me from being able to speak properly. I could not eat corn, apples, baby back ribs. I did not want dentures to be part of my life. I pretty much decided dental implants were the route I was going to take.
Let's do a head-to-head comparison of dental implants versus dentures. With dentures, the ability to taste food, to bite and chew is altered. The worst thing about dentures, bone loss. When you put an implant inside the bone, which is like the root of a tooth, now you preserve the bone. It's a game changer. With implants, you walk into a restaurant, you order anything you want. You eat just like you have real teeth.
Before you knew it, here I was with my brand new teeth.
Schedule your free consultation today. We'll even talk about financing options.
I can smile, my confidence is back.
Call Clear Choice today.
I don't believe in love at first sight, but Hulu sure gives me a lot to look at. Past seasons, new seasons, only here seasons, but you can't watch everything. Ooh, Fargo. Or can you?
Hey, what's this?
It's a laxative. Sometimes I get constipated.
Really?
I like Senecot. Uses a natural vegetable laxative ingredient. That matters to me. And it usually works overnight.
Senecot, because ingredients matter.
Here we go. It's round 2 for Steve Bannon. The former White House chief strategist is expected to testify before the House Intelligence Committee again today on what he knew during the 2016 election. Also in the hot seat, FBI Chief of Staff James Rybicki, who worked under former Director Comey. He'll take questions on the FBI's handling of the Hillary Clinton email probe. Oversight Committee Chairman Trey Gowdy says Rybicki could reveal new information.
There was an exoneration memo drafted in May of 2016 that, as a former prosecutor, I just found stunning. I find stunning that a law enforcement officer would draft it 2 months before you have interviewed the target of the investigation and before you've interviewed almost 24 witnesses. So we need to know what role, if any, Special Agent Rybicki had in that.
Chief Intelligence Correspondent Catherine Herridge is live outside the committee hearing room. Good morning, Catherine.
Well, thank you, Sandra. It's a really highly fluid situation here on Capitol Hill. The latest information we have is that the House Intelligence Committee is waiting for a response from Steve Bannon's lawyer as to whether he's going to appear today or try and schedule a date in the very near future. But bluntly, as the morning has progressed, the likelihood he's going to appear has really diminished. Bannon was up here on Capitol Hill for 12 hours earlier this week before the House Intelligence Committee in a closed session. And the president's former chief strategist refused to answer question after question about his time at the White House and during the transition. He said he had been directed by the White House not to do so because they had concerns about executive privilege. This left Republicans and Democrats extremely frustrated.
The Congress of the United States, let alone our committee, cannot allow a precedent where the White House can simply say with no invocation of privilege that in a lawful investigation by Congress, we're simply going to deny Congress information, or that we're going to treat Congress differently than we're going to treat special counsel.
The committee is also voting this morning as to whether they're going to release the transcript from Fusion GPS co-founder Glenn Simpson's testimony at the end of last year. Glenn Simpson matters because his firm was behind the Trump dossier. Based on Fox's reporting, Simpson makes a number of allegations in that closed-door testimony, including that he's seen evidence or at least believes that Russia has infiltrated Jewish groups in this country, as well as the NRA. When we first reported this, the NRA denied that to Fox News. Sandra.
Catherine Herridge, thank you.
I don't mean any disrespect to my Democratic friends, but I don't know whether they're going to come to their senses or not. Look, Senator McConnell's right. I don't always agree with Mitch, but he's right. But we have plenty of time to continue to discuss immigration. But there's more to the subject of immigration than amnesty.
Now, Louisiana Senator John Kennedy earlier last hour is both sides of the aisle now. Seek a deal on immigration. So far, no dice. Clock ticking toward a government shutdown. Friday night, midnight. Watch that clock. Doug Schoen, former advisor to President Bill Clinton. Molly Hemingway, senior editor for The Federalist, and both are Fox News contributors. Good day to both of you.
Thanks, Bill.
The question to Senator Kennedy was, do any of your Democratic colleagues want to give the president a victory on anything? And you heard his answer, Doug. He wasn't so sure about that.
Well,
do you?
And look, I'm not so sure either, but what I can say with certainty, Bill, is if the Republicans don't have a clear position on border security, on the wall, on the compromise immigration plan, on the children's health program, which the president distanced himself from today. If the Republican position is fluid, I can tell you what the Democratic position will be, and it'll be no. The Republicans have to come to the table with the bipartisan Senate deal or something like that, and I suspect at least 9 Democrats will go along.
Do you think, reach deep back into your big brain there, do you think Dick Durbin wants to go to the White House for a signing ceremony in immigration? Do you think he's willing to give that sort of victory to President Trump?
I don't think Dick Durbin is, but there are, I think, 10 senators up in states that Donald Trump won who feel and know that giving the president the occasional win is only in their political and, I dare say, the country's interest.
Right on. Molly, 2 questions there. Go ahead. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I think this is exactly what we're seeing among Democrats. There is this divide. There are people who think that not getting a deal will be an electoral win for them in November, so they're actually sabotaging any attempt at negotiation. And then there are people who are up for re-election, people like Claire McCaskill, who are saying this is not good for people like me if we shut down the government over this grandstanding on this issue. But it's important that, Democrats have said that they want to compromise. They have said that they're open to that. Republicans have said they're open to it. But you don't see Democrats actually offering to make any concessions on things like the wall, funding for the wall, ending chain migration, ending random visa lotteries, doing anything to move toward a more Canadian or Australian-style merit-based immigration policy where people are judged on their immigration chances based on their chance for success, whether they have the education and skills and language.
What do you conclude from that, Molly?
Well, I think that there are a lot of people who think that not getting a deal will help them in November. It will energize their base. It will get them to come out and vote. And I think this is kind of the game plan we saw in Virginia and Alabama. If they can keep Donald Trump from having victories, that demoralizes the Republican base and it energizes the Democratic base. And they think that'll work. But I don't know if that will.
Yeah, my sense is the White House wants to get this done. And I thought that was emphasized by Secretary Kelly's response last night when he said this on DACA.
The extension ends on the 5th of March. There's no doubt in my mind there's going to be a deal, so long as men and women on both sides are willing to talk.
There it is, Doug. There's no doubt in my mind there's going to be a deal.
I hope that's the case, but I would reiterate what I said earlier. We need a consistent response as Democrats, like the Senate compromise, which offers some improvements on border security, lengthens the time for citizenship, changes the lottery. I think it's something worth talking about, but we need the president on board with that. He's called it weak. We need the Senate caucus to fully get behind it. So far hasn't happened.
All right.
And we can get a deal, yes.
Molly, do you think the White House has been wishy-washy on this then, as Doug alleges?
No, I mean, I think they've established what their principles are, and they have said that they are willing to sign any reasonable deal. What Graham and Durbin brought to the White House was clearly not in any way a remotely serious plan, one that would get people on board.
Ma, that meeting was a mess, wasn't it? I mean, that was like a Fefe or something was going on there.
Well, and I think what we saw is that was an attempt to sabotage that meeting. Those leaks that came out of that, they knew that they had failed. They knew they had messed up with what they brought the president. They thought they were really clever, but they weren't so clever. And then you got the leak and the attempt to completely blow up negotiations and end any good faith arguments between the two sides. That's not good for the country. And immigration is something that a lot of people in elite establishment don't want to fix because it works out well for the elite. But a lot of Americans are saying it's time to have a coherent immigration policy and stop kicking the can down the road.
And Molly, my response is get General Kelly, President Trump, Lindsey Graham, and the Republican leadership together to come up with a united Republican plan that they buy into. Then we can talk.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Molly.
Thank you.
Good pairing there. Appreciate your time. Thanks, Sandra.
Well, the VA secretary apologizing after a serious mishap.
It's an event that should never happen, and I am deeply sorry that any veteran should have to undergo this.
The VA apologizing after an X-ray surfaces showing a scalpel allegedly left inside a vet for years after a surgery. Secretary Shulkin is here to talk about improvements at hospitals across the nation and how the VA is doing under the president's first year in office.
When our country used to flex its muscle with battleships like the USS Iowa, the world would listen. It's time we return to the America I remember. Hi, I'm William Devane. There are dangerous forces everywhere pulling our country apart, threatening our economy and our way of life. That's why I'm going to do two things: support our military and buy gold from Roslyn Capital. I've never felt safe relying on paper money to protect my assets. That's why I buy gold from Roslyn. With Roslyn, what you order is what you get. No gimmicks, no nonsense, no hassle. We're all safer with our ships patrolling the seas. And my assets are a whole lot safer with gold from Roslyn Capital. So ask yourself, are you safe?
Call now to get your free gold, silver, and IRA kits. Call 800-630-8900. 800-630-8900. 800-630-8900.
With Expedia, you can book a flight, then add a hotel, and save. Everything you need to go. Expedia.
Taken at the first sign of a cold, Cold Ease can make your cold 42% shorter.
This was nice.
It might not make your first date 42% better. Cold Ease is clinically proven to shorten your cold by nearly half, guaranteed.
Millions of you are online right now searching one topic. That will generate over 600 million results. And if you've been diagnosed with cancer, searching for answers, like where to treat, can feel even more overwhelming. So start your search with a specialist at Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Start with teams of cancer treatment experts under one roof. Start where specialists use advanced genomic testing to guide precision cancer treatment that may lead to targeted therapies and more treatment options. Start where there's a commitment to analyzing the latest research and conducting clinical trials to help each patient get the personalized cancer care they deserve. Start at one of the Cancer Treatment Centers of America hospitals near you. The evolution of cancer care is here. Learn more at cancercenter.com/experts. Appointments available now.
Hey, Todd. Hey, Will. So I think I got to get my roof repaired. You know anybody?
Yeah, actually I might.
Ah, great. Can you do a free background check on them for me? Get me some additional quotes. Research the average price for the job in this area and book the job for 2 weeks from now. On a Wednesday. No, wait. Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday's better.
You can't expect your neighbors to do everything Home Advisor can. So to find and instantly book a background-checked home pro for free, just ask Home Advisor.
We will not rest until all of America's great veterans receive the care they have earned through their incredible service and sacrifice to our country. I'm honored to be at the forefront of the greatest strides ever made at the VA for our veterans, and it's not even close.
That was President Trump earlier this month after signing an executive order to help improve mental health care for new veterans. Helping vets, one of his biggest campaign promises, you'll remember. It's a pleasure to welcome Veterans Affairs Secretary David Shulkin. He joins us now. Mr. Secretary, thanks for coming on.
I'm glad to be here, Sandra.
So you continue to see a President Trump that is committed to helping our nation's veterans. You also heard and saw a lot from candidate Trump on this, promising to make things better for our nation's heroes. How's the president doing after his first year in office?
The president has remained consistent that he expects us to do better for our veterans. He's very passionate about this and is clear that he wants to see outcomes and results for us to do better.
Secretary, how would you describe the current state of Veterans Affairs?
Well, I would say that we still have a lot of issues, a lot of problems that we have to address. Remember, we're talking about decades of problems that have accumulated over the years. I think we're making progress, but we have a lot more work to do, and we just have to step it up to do better for our veterans.
Where would you say are some of your biggest concerns and challenges at this point?
Well, I think it's all the way around. It's always about getting the right people in to make sure that they're there for the right reasons, serving our veterans. And we have amazing people who work in the VA, but we have way too many vacancies that we have to fill. And we still have to make sure that those that are deviating from their commitment to veterans are no longer welcome at the VA. So we have some work to do there, as well as modernizing our facilities and our technology to make sure veterans are getting the very best services possible.
Why are those jobs going unfulfilled? Notably, 4 top positions within the Department of Veterans Affairs. You were asked about this in your testimony yesterday. Senator Johnny Isakson, a Republican from Georgia, bringing that up. One thing that concerns him is these 4 positions that remain unfulfilled in the department. Why is that happening? Why can't you fill those roles?
Well, it concerns us too. Getting the right leadership in place is one of our most important tasks right now. Getting the right people to want to leave private sector or come in to serve in public service is a difficult challenge these days. We see what's happening in Washington. We know what it takes in terms of the amount of time and energy to do public service jobs, and we're looking for the right people. We're not just looking to fill these positions. We're looking for people who are going to come in and make a difference.
Another thing you were asked about yesterday, and we obviously need to ask you about it, is this situation where a scalpel was left in one of our veterans after years after a surgery took place. He was suffering from a lot of pain, and then an X-ray revealed that there was a scalpel left in him. How are you addressing this claim?
Well, that was a case from 2013, but one of the things that's clear is that when we make mistakes and we make veterans suffer, like in this case, we're going to come out and we're going to say that, and we're not only going to accept responsibility for it, but we're going to apologize for it, as I've done, and we're going to make sure that we make it right by the veteran and prevent this from happening again. The truth is that while this is a unexcusable case that should never happen, the overall across the VA, our patient safety statistics are better than what happens in private sector hospitals. But that doesn't mean that we aren't committed to making sure that this never happens again.
Fair enough. We'll see where that goes. Meanwhile, you're hearing all the politics on Capitol Hill right now, Secretary, and Republicans saying Democrats are holding the military hostage, not funding the government if there's not a deal on DACA, and what this means for the military. If I could just ask you to weigh in on the politics of the moment as we move forward and look at this deadline to fund the government by tomorrow night.
Well, it's important that the government continue to operate. When you look at the key functions that serve all Americans, people didn't send any of us here to Washington to shut the government down. So it's important that we work through this. What I'm particularly proud of when it comes to issues serving our veterans is that we've been able to do things in a bipartisan way. And I think we need both parties to focus on getting the job done and making sure that we continue to do why people sent us here to do in the first place here in Washington.
You've got a huge job to do, potentially one of the most important, protecting our nation's heroes and caring for them. Mr. Secretary, we thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you, Sandra.
Big job, important job there. In a moment, awaiting President Trump's arrival at the Pentagon. Moments from now, he will attend a very important meeting with his top military advisors, and on the docket, North Korea and its nuclear program.
「
and its nuclear program.
「
North Korea and its nuclear program. 」 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 and its nuclear program.
「 and its nuclear program. Attention sleep apnea patients. Do you hate your full face mask? Tired of the severe pain and discomfort? Now you can eliminate the pain and torture of your CPAP mask and sleep in total comfort. Invented by an actual sleep apnea patient, this incredible product ends the need to use awful full face masks. And because it has no straps and no headgear, you'll be comfortable and get your best CPAP sleep ever. Go to nomask.com, NOMASK.com to end your nightly torture. That's nomask.com.
I cannot imagine managing my diabetes without my Dexcom.
This is the Dexcom G5 Mobile Continuous Glucose Monitoring System. A small wearable sensor measures your glucose every 5 minutes and sends the data to a Dexcom receiver.
Dexcom helps lower A1C and improves quality of life. If you're over 65 and you have diabetes, you should have a Dexcom.
If you get a Dexcom, you're going to be very glad that you did.
Visit DexcomNow.com to learn more.
The Russia investigation, the intel hearings, and where it all stands now. James Langford takes us inside the latest from Capitol Hill. Don't miss Shannon's powerful interview, part of our must-see lineup tonight.
You won't see these folks at the post office. They have businesses to run. They have passions to pursue. How do they avoid trips to the post office? Stamps.com. Mail letters, ship packages, all the services of the post office right on your computer. Get a 4-week trial plus $100 in extras, including postage and a digital scale. Go to stamps.com/try and never go to the post office again.
This is Bill. Bill's in sales by day, but Ring lets him fight crime at night.
Tell us, Bill, how'd you do it? Well, I was at home one evening watching my favorite program, and I got a Ring notification, and I see this guy in my backyard, but I don't really know what to do, so I just go, he ran like the Dickens.
I may know karate, but Bill knows crazy.
I do know a little karate.
The Ring Spotlight Cam keeps your home and your neighborhood safe.
A good enough dinner.
Hey, should I heat up some nuggets for us?
Isn't good or enough. It's a plated night.
Yes.
So plan for great. Start at plated.com. Pick from a wide variety of dinner options. All the shopping and measuring is done for you. So get together, share, enjoy. Go to plated.com right now to get 50% off your first week of Plated Nights. That's up to a $79 value. This offer won't last, so go to plated.com now.
Hi, I'm the one clocking in when you're clocking out, sensing your every move and automatically adjusting to help you stay effortlessly comfortable. I can also help with this. Does your bed do that? Oh, I don't actually talk, though I'm smart enough to. I'm the new Sleep Number 360 Smart Bed. Let's meet at a Sleep Number store.
I'm John Scott. 7 minutes away on Happening Now. President Trump sends a clear message to Congress. No deal without the wall. So how will this affect today's vote with a government shutdown looming Friday night? Plus, the California couple charged with starving and torturing their 13 children appearing in court today, the charges they face. And a deadly flu outbreak affects 49 states. Why this year's strain is so much more dangerous. Happening now, top of the hour.
Thank you, John. We will see you then. In the meantime, President Trump leaving the White House, heading for the Pentagon for a meeting with top military leaders. He will be greeted by many there, including Secretary James Mattis when he arrives, so we're certainly watching that. While this is happening, the UN is meeting, a Security Council meeting on nuclear proliferation around the world, and that means one thing. That's North Korea, and that will certainly be in the docket at the Pentagon today. I thought what Secretary Kelly said with Brett last night was interesting on the idea of a war with North Korea. This is what Kelly said. He said, this is one of those things that landed in the president's lap. It's been in the process for 25 years. We've kicked the can down the road. The only problem is there is no road left. I heard that and I thought that's ominous.
Interesting
stuff.
Really
something to consider.
And we had Senator Marco Rubio on earlier, who I thought had some interesting things to say about possible conversations with the president directly with Kim Jong-un, whether or not that would be useful. Obviously, this is a big conversation to be had. Marco Rubio is in the camp of that's not going to change anything.
The Olympics start 3 weeks from tomorrow, and now we know the North Koreans and the South Koreans will march in together, which will be an awesome sign of unity for the Korean Peninsula. The question then begs, what happens 3 weeks later when the Olympics are over? Yeah. And you know about the U.S. Air Force's military buildup on the island of Guam with B-2 bombers now arriving there and many other air assets. The idea for that is clear and simple. They're trying to send the message that even though you have this sense of unity right now, we will not be fooled, and that's a big part of this meeting.
So a big huddle about to take place at the Pentagon, talking military strategy. Important conversation to be had, but one we don't always learn a lot of details from. Why? Because the president has been very firm on not broadcasting or displaying his strategy, particularly when it comes to North Korea and our next move there.
I think that whole thought about the can being kicked for 25 years is something that resonates throughout this entire administration, and right now they're trying to figure it out. We'll be back in a moment, right after this quick break.
Okay, I never thought I'd say this, but I found bladder leak underwear that's actually pretty. Surprised? It's called Always Discreet Boutique. It looks and fits like my underwear. I know what you're thinking. How can something this pretty protect? Hidden inside is a super absorbent core that quickly turns liquid to gel for incredible protection. So I feel protected and pretty. New Always Discreet Boutique.
Who can be a victim of identity theft? Anyone. You, me, even reality TV star and owner of the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop, Rick Harrison.
Identity thieves don't care who you are. They just want the money. My identity was stolen. I had over a dozen credit cards and accounts all across the country. I don't know how to fix identity theft.
Rick Harrison helps protect his identity with LifeLock.
Over a dozen accounts were opened in my name, and LifeLock helped fix things every time.
Credit card notifications and checking statements don't show you enough. Even if you monitor your credit, you can miss certain identity theft threats. LifeLock's proprietary network sees more, like your information being sold on the dark web. If there is a problem, our US-based restoration agents dedicated to your case will work to fix it.
As a LifeLock member, I have a whole team of people who've got my back. If there's a problem, I got my guys.
When someone takes what's yours, you want it back. With LifeLock's $1 Million Protection Package, if your money is taken or if you have expenses due to identity theft, LifeLock will either get it back for you or reimburse you for it up to the limit of your plan. Plus, we'll provide lawyers and experts if that's what it takes.
When I don't know enough about something, I call it an expert. When it comes to my identity, the expert I use is LifeLock.
Join today for as low as $9.99 per month and get 30 days free with promo code JOINNOW. LifeLock members get identity threat detection and alerts, a dedicated US-based restoration agent assigned to your case, and you'll be covered by LifeLock's $1 Million Protection Package. Start your membership today. Enroll in minutes.
It's sort of like having your big 400-pound bodyguard standing next to you. No. Deal with him.
LifeLock. Call 1-800-495-0973 or visit LifeLockSpecial.com. Use promo code JOINNOW to get 30 days free and a free shredder with annual membership. Call right now.
You have a vision. It's behind everything you do. Even when you least expect it, it comes through. You know what you want, and we can help make it real. You need choices? We've got all kinds, including special finishes and papers. And they're all absolutely guaranteed because you have a vision and we have your card. 500 start at just $9.99 when you enter BC500 at Vistaprint.com.
Pay attention, Bill. Pope Francis making history, conducting the first ever airborne papal wedding. The pontiff marrying 2 flight attendants from Chile's flagship airline during a flight from Santiago. The bride and groom were married in a civil service 8 years ago, but were unable to follow up with a church ceremony because of an earthquake that hit Chile in 2010.
I mean,
Fascinating.
if you're going to get married, I mean, come on, you know, just bring the Pope
go
in.
all out.
We got a great story for our kids down the road. So congratulations to the couple there. Good
What
stuff.
a couple hours, huh?
Yeah, I think so.
A lot of newsmakers.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're back tomorrow watching that clock. Shutdown looming.
Tomorrow's a
What do you
big
think?
day. It's a big day. We'll see how things go tonight.
You want to bet a buck?
All right. Always
Yeah,
a bet.
so-
You're on a buck. Okay. Happening now. Starts right now.
And we start with the House of Representatives set to vote on a spending bill this afternoon, hoping to avert a government shutdown Friday night. Good morning to you. I'm John Scott.
And I'm Melissa Francis. The last time we saw a shutdown was back in 2013. This time, Republicans are in control of Congress and the White House. But with no guarantees this bill will pass and very little agreement on anything else in Washington right now, both sides are preparing to blame the other, of course, if the government does shut down. Here's White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders.
The president certainly doesn't want to shut down, and if one happens, I think you only have one place to look, and that's to the Democrats, who are holding our military and our national security hostage by trying to push through other policies that have nothing to do with the budget. We would like to, again, get a budget deal done, a 2-year budget deal, a clean budget deal, and then focus on negotiations following that deal with finding a permanent solution to DACA and responsible immigration reform. We've said that many times before. Our position has not changed.
Chief White House correspondent John Roberts joins us now. How's it shaping up there, John?
Well, they think that it looks pretty good, but they're not sure at this point. The president, just over at the Pentagon, should be arriving momentarily to get a briefing on the new U.S. nuclear posture review, but not before causing some confusion this morning by taking to Twitter. The White House is standing behind a House resolution for a temporary spending bill that would, among other things, fund the government until February the 16th. It would also delay the implementation of some Obamacare taxes and provide 6 years of funding for the Children's Health Insurance Program, which is kind of why people were scratching their heads this morning when the president tweeted out, quote, "CHIP should be part of a long-term solution, not a 30-day or short-term extension," like his FISA tweet last week. That one caused a lot of confusion on Capitol Hill. Listen to what Senator John Cornyn said earlier today on Fox.
I'm not sure what the president means. What this would do, though, is would it reauthorize the CHIP program for, I believe, 5 years. Yep. So it's not just a 30-day extension. But Paul Ryan and Kevin McCarthy have to figure a way to cobble together the 218 votes. Apparently, they feel like adding this to it will help them get to that 218 votes.
So where are we with the temporary spending measure? There is opposition on the Republican side. The House Freedom Caucus throwing up a roadblock, saying it wants a 2-year budget deal, not another temporary spending measure. Senator Lindsey Graham also saying he wants a real budget that funds the military. White House says that it's having a good conversation with the House Freedom Caucus. Hill sources, though, still saying that it's unclear where the Freedom Caucus stands on all of this and whether or not they'll get on board. Some Democrats are insisting that a DACA fix be attached to a spending bill, but there's no way that the White House is going to allow DACA to be attached to that CR. Last night, speaking with Bret Baier on Special Report, the Chief of Staff John Kelly said he is all but certain that a spending deal will be reached. Listen here.
I spent a fair amount of time on the Hill today speaking to members of Congress, both sides of the aisle, and frankly, both sides of the Hill, and it would seem that they have the votes to continue funding the military, take care of the child health care issue, and perhaps some other things. So as I understand it, they have the votes and they're confident.
But in that same interview, John Kelly seemed to put himself in the doghouse when he told Bret Baier that the president's thinking about a border wall during the campaign was not fully informed, and that there are a lot of places across the southern border where building a wall is neither practical nor possible, and that the U.S. was not going to get the money to build a wall from the Mexican government. John Kelly saying that the president's views have evolved over time. The president taking to Twitter this morning to restate his position, saying, quote, the wall, it has never changed or evolved from the first day I conceived of it. Parts of it will be of necessity see-through, and it was never intended to be built in areas where there is natural protection such as mountains, wastelands, or tough rivers or water. The wall will be paid for directly or indirectly or through longer-term reimbursement by Mexico, which has a ridiculous $71 billion trade surplus with the U.S. The $20 billion wall is peanuts compared to what Mexico makes from us. The U.S. NAFTA makes from the U.S. NAFTA is a bad joke. Word around the White House is that the president was pretty hot under the collar about what Kelly said last night on Special Report, and that when John Kelly returned to the White House last night, The president told him that he was unhappy about it. Now, on DACA, it looks like we're not going to get a deal this week, though the White House is confident it will at some point. I'm told that negotiations on the Hill do include the 4 points that the president was talking about, and the president reiterating this morning, quote, if there is no wall, there is no deal. But one White House source I talked to, Melissa, said that they are closer to a deal than a lot of people think and have been reporting that they are. Back to you.
A lot to stay on top of. John Roberts, thank you.
Thank you.
Fox News Alert going to take you to the Pentagon now, and there you see the Beast. That's the president's armored limousine. President Trump about to emerge. There he is. He has arrived at the Pentagon for the nation's clear posture review. We understand the president is going to be making some comments. There's the vice president at his side. Let's listen in.
To support our country's military. If the country shuts down, which could very well be, the budget should be handled a lot differently than it's been handled over the last long period of time, many years. But if for any reason it shuts down, the worst thing is what happens to our military. We're rebuilding our military. We're bringing it to a level that it's never been at. And the worst thing is for our military. We don't want that to happen. I'm here to support our military. Our military has to be the best in the world by far. And as you know, it's been depleted over the last long period of time. And when we finish, there won't be anything like it. We need that now almost more than at any time in the past. So I'm here for our military. I'm here to support our great and very powerful military. And we're going to keep it that way, but we're going to make it much better. And that's what we're doing. It also means jobs. You see what's happening with respect to jobs. You see what happened yesterday, Apple, and now it was just announced that they're giving each employee a lot of money. So our tax cuts and our tax reform has turned out to be far greater than anybody ever anticipated, and I'm sure the Democrats would like to blunt that by shutting down government. But again, the group that loses big would be the military, and we're never letting our military lose at any point. We're going to fund our military. We're going to have a military like we've never had before, because we've just about never needed our military more than now. Thank you all very much.
President, are you responsible if there's a government shutdown, sir?
Could happen. We'll see what happens. It's up to the Democrats.
Mr. President, have you been involved on border security?
So as the president heads into the Pentagon again for the nuclear posture review, he is suggesting that any government shutdown, which could happen tomorrow at midnight, that is going to severely affect the U.S. military. He also, as you heard there, blamed Democrats if the shutdown does happen. Now, Congress has passed continuing resolutions in recent months. Clearly, the goal is to get something done, but there is not a lot of time.
I don't think the government's going to shut down. I think the president is making it very clear that this is not what we want. And obviously, I think that it's very important to know that the Democrats shouldn't play this shutdown politics. It's very harmful.
For more on this, Eliza Collins, a congressional reporter for USA Today. Clearly, the president and his advisors there are suggesting that Democrats would be to blame if the government shuts down, but Democrats are not in control of the government right now.
Democrats are not in control of the government right now, and while they are definitely a question mark in the Senate, in the House, it's actually Republicans. Some of President Trump's closest allies in the Freedom Caucus have not said their yeses either, and there are enough of them. At least I had conversations with Mark Meadows last night, who's the chair of the Freedom Caucus, and this morning his aide said nothing's changed. And basically what Mark Meadows said is that there are enough no's to sink it tonight in the House. So
what do they want?
That argument's tough.
What do they want?
The Freedom Caucus is sick of basically going on 2-week, 3-week chunks of government funding. They want some clarity on what's next. They're asking for basically House leadership to outline a plan. Here's what we're doing on immigration. We will not make a deal with the Democrats. Of course, the Freedom Caucus is sort of far right, and they don't want to be rolled over in later negotiations by their leadership. So they're just looking for clarity, whereas Democrats want a solution on immigration.
You mentioned, the two parties. The Republicans seem to be the raucous caucus here. Democrats pretty much march in lockstep behind their leadership. Republicans seem to be all over the Republican map. Any suggestion, any ideas as to why that is?
Well, part of it is just being the party in power. I think there's a brighter spotlight shined on you. It's a lot harder to get to a yes than to stand together in a no. And we saw that with the Obamacare repeal and the tax reform. Democrats were able to get in line. But also the Freedom Caucus is really a problem for House Speaker Paul Ryan. They're very vocal. They're close to the president. They have no problem pushing back against their leadership. And that makes it really difficult to keep your party in line, especially when they're constantly talking to the press and basically negotiating out in public.
So you're there talking to these members of Congress every day and late into the night. What are your predictions? Will this government shutdown happen?
I really don't know. And I think that's sort of the sense here. I've talked to some members who basically estimated at about a 40%, and that is definitely not scientific, but they're saying that it is higher chance than previous CRs, but they think in the end people will come in line. President Trump is saying he doesn't want to shut down, and so it's really difficult to imagine his allies starting a shutdown at least tonight, but I really don't know what happens with Democrats tomorrow in the Senate. We've seen a lot of undecided. So some vocal no's, a couple yeses, but the majority are undecided, or at least publicly undecided right now.
Dancing on the bubble with a government shutdown. Eliza Collins, USA Today. Thanks for your expertise.
Thank you.
We have some breaking news for you right now. Fox News has learned that members of the House Intelligence Committee have voted to release the transcript of Fusion GPS co-founder's testimony, Glenn Simpson. This is back from a November interview. So they are going to release that testimony. Apparently, a full transcript, according to reports, will be posted on the committee's website later this afternoon. Did the president change his tune on the border wall? Depends on who you ask. His chief of staff is saying one thing, but the president is tweeting something very different. The political impact of that. Plus a scare in the air with the drama caught on tape.
Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, we expect to evacuate the aircraft quickly and safety if we evacuate. Brace.
If you are considering silver for your savings and retirement accounts, here is an amazing offer from Lear Capital. Now you can receive $200, $500, up to $2,000 worth of these all-new silver Snowy Owl coins free with a qualifying purchase. The Snowy Owl is made from the finest silver of any coin in the world. Its popular 1.5-ounce size makes it both valuable and affordable. And because it comes with a government guarantee, it's IRA eligible. With the price of silver so low, now is the perfect time to stop considering silver and own it. Call Lear Capital at 1-800-769-8500 and see how you can earn up to $2,000 worth of silver Snowy Owl coins free with a qualifying purchase. Plus, the first 50 callers receive this exclusive report, Sky High Silver. See what's driving demand and why it could send silver prices soaring. Call 1-800-769-8500. 1-800-769-8500.
I promise to have and to hold from this day forward till death do us part.
SelectQuote can help you keep your promise with life insurance starting at under $1 a day.
But you promised, Dad.
Come on. SelectQuote helped Jim, 41, keep his promise by finding him a $500,000 policy for under $26 per month. And found Kathy, 37, a $750,000 policy for just $22 per month. Since 1985, we've helped millions of families by finding them affordable coverage by impartially shopping highly rated insurers offering over 70 policies.
Dad, you're coming, right?
You promise?
You promise? You promise?
I promise. Keep your promise. Call SelectQuote at 800-304-3359 or visit SelectQuote.com for life insurance coverage starting at under $1 a day. We shop, you save.
Mom let me know she'd always be there for me, and she was. It's really hard to even think about her not being around. That's why I'm so grateful she got screened, and they caught the blockage in time.
If you're over 50, call Lifeline Screening now and schedule an appointment near you. It could be the best thing for you and your family. For just $149, you'll receive 5 screenings, including ones that use ultrasound technology to look inside your arteries for plaque that builds up as you age and increases your risk for stroke and heart disease. After all, 4 out of 5 people who have a stroke, their first symptom is a stroke. These painless screenings go beyond a normal annual checkup, and this package will save you over 50%. Call today and start with a free health assessment to understand your best plan of action.
I still need Mom. I want her with me as long as possible.
Lifeline Screening, the power of prevention. Call now to learn more.
Right now, a very dramatic ending to an American Airlines flight after mechanical issues forced the pilot to make an emergency landing. Everyone on board told to brace for impact. One passenger captured the dramatic footage of the plane crash landing on the runway at Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. Amazingly, no injuries reported. The airline says after the plane was inspected, it was put back into service.
Wow. All right, breaking down the border wall, some very different views on the president's position. Here's what his chief of staff, John Kelly, told our Brett Baer.
This president, if you've seen what he's done, he has changed the way he's looked at a number of things. He's adjusted the way he's looked at the South Asia strategy, Afghanistan. He's very definitely changed his attitude towards the DACA issue and even the wall.
So while the president tweeted, "The wall is the wall, it has never changed or evolved from the first day I conceived of it." Joining us now is Michael Starr, Hopkins Democratic strategist and attorney and contributor to The Hill, and Kevin McCullough, conservative syndicated radio host at Salem Media. Kevin, I'll start with you. Well, he did say that it was a wall from, one end to the other. Now he is, saying what we all knew, which is that there are places he wants stronger security from end to end, but there are places where that doesn't actually mean a wall.
I think only non-nuanced people actually thought he meant a physical barrier was going to go across 2,000 miles. Why would you put a 50-foot wall and under 200 feet of water, for instance, where the ocean is at the border? You've got natural barriers like mountains. You've got other
But to be fair, that's what the other side was saying during the campaign, and then people would shout back, "No, he means a wall."
No, they were pushing back against permanent border barriers altogether. I mean, they fought it when Bush was in office and he tried to establish fencing along the same path. It's more Trumpish to say a wall instead of a fence.
It's better marketing. But Michael, so now it seems like we're all on the same page. Why would Democrats say no to this?
Well, I don't know if we're all on the same page, because one minute Donald Trump says Mexico's paying
here it
for
is.
the
It's
wall.
tweet. Here we are. At this second, right now, we're all on the same page.
There we go.
At this second, why would Democrats say no to more enforcement down where there are barriers and beefing it up, and something that to me seems very sane and not crazy at this moment?
And at this moment, Democrats are fine with strengthening the border, but it needs to be done while we're also doing things like making sure that children have health care, making sure that we reaffirm DACA. We can balance those two, but at one minute Donald Trump says,
this was the thought that we could balance all of these things, but now it doesn't feel like it, because now you have the president saying this, and you have Republicans offering, you mentioned the health care, offering CHIP as part of a short-term budget resolution. They want to sit down and do something serious on DACA. Are you not buying that?
Well, the president a couple minutes ago tweeted something that confused whether or not CHIP is part of the deal, and we've heard Mark Meadows say that he's not signing on to any deal that includes DACA being included, and there's just no clarity. And so it becomes the problem of when you have the president tweeting one thing and Republican leadership tweeting another. Jeff Flake brought a bipartisan bill in front of Trump, and he said he wouldn't sign it after saying he'd sign anything that was brought before him.
Melissa, it's called sausage making, and this is the work of public policy. You have
so do you feel like we're making progress? I hear what you're saying, and I think you're probably right about this.
No,
do you think
we're making
that
huge progress?
Yeah,
no, I think that the wall's going to happen. The president is not going to yield on this. I think there's going to be some form of DACA, whether it includes CHIP or not. I'm not sure, and I'm not sure how children's health care has anything to do with border security. So the president may just be saying, "We'll pull it out and look at that separately. We just don't want to confuse the issue." His roundtable in the Oval Office or the White House last week, where he had Feinstein and Durbin, all those guys around the same table, not the other meeting that happened later, but the big meeting. He said, okay, DACA and border security in part one, comprehensive an hour later after we pass it. He's committed to doing something about it. The question is, Are Democrats actually committed to it? Because they keep moving the goalposts and they keep playing games, coming back saying, well, we're interested now, but we're not sure if that's going to work.
Everybody's playing games. I mean, it's politics. That's how it works. But it seems like there could be a DACA for border security deal because everybody gets something that they want, and there's nothing in there that seems totally outrageous. Do you think that there could be a deal in there?
I think there absolutely could be a deal. Jeff Flake brought that deal in front of the president, and now we have Lindsey Graham.
That was a little. That was a roundabout, though.
We
that was
are much closer, Melissa, than anybody is publicly showing.
We're getting ready to shut down. I think that is a real thing that is going to happen.
Hopefully not. We'll see.
Not sure Democrats want to oppose that. I'm not sure they don't want to shut down.
We didn't solve it, John. Over to you. We did our best.
We'll try and solve it later this hour.
Okay.
How some high-tech help saved the lives of 2 young swimmers in a rescue that's making history. Plus, President Trump not revealing his strategy for dealing with North Korea. White House Chief of Staff John Kelly says the president will not allow Kim Jong-un to threaten the United States and our allies.
This is one of those things that landed on this president's lap. It's been in the process for 25 years. We've kicked a can down the road. The problem at this point in time is there's no road left.
Mr. President, you understand that your testimony here today is under oath. I do.
This is really a result of our inexperience in Washington.
She didn't tell the truth.
I, like everyone else, would like to know the answer.
He started to put his hands and slide up my legs.
Bill Clinton lived a double life.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Scandalous, a groundbreaking 7-part series, premieres Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Fox News Channel. America's top critics are raving. Hostiles is one of the best films of the year. Christian Bale is astounding. It's the finest Western since Unforgiven. Hostiles, rated R. Now playing in select theaters everywhere January 26th.
You might take something for your heart or joints, but do you take something for your brain? With an ingredient originally found in jellyfish, Prevagen is the #1 selling brain health supplement in drugstores nationwide. Prevagen, the name to remember.
We've been preparing for this day. Over the years, Paul and I have met regularly with our Ameriprise advisor. We plan for everything from retirement to college savings, giving us the ability to add on for an important member of our family. Welcome home, Mom. With the right financial advisor, life can be brilliant.
You were made to move, to progress, to not just accept what you see, but imagine something new. At Invisalign, we use the most advanced teeth straightening technology to help you find the next amazing version of yourself. It's time to unleash your secret weapon. It's there, right under your nose. Get to your best smile up to 50% faster. Visit Invisalign.com to get started today.
I was born during the winter of '77. I first met James in 5th grade. We got married after college and had twin boys. But then, one night, a truck didn't stop. But thanks to our forester, neither did our story. And that's why we'll always drive a Subaru.
Tucker's final exam. More news, more competition. Leland Biddard is back to face off against his next opponent. Who will win this battle? Find out tonight.
Did you know that a dirty CPAP system can make you sick? If you knew what could be growing in your mask and hose, it would keep you up at night. Now SoClean.com has released the world's first and only automated hands-free CPAP cleaner and sanitizer. With its patented design, SoClean is fast, effective, and hands-free, killing 99.9% of all CPAP germs. Try SoClean now through this special TV offer free for 30 days. Just call 800-604-5270.
My health has improved.
It's simple to use, and I'm not worried about infections.
SoClean works on all CPAP machines and popular masks, destroying CPAP bacteria, viruses, and germs without the daily hassle of washing your system by hand. Just place your mask in, close the lid, and in just minutes, voila, sanitized and ready to use. Try SoClean risk-free for 30 days. This is a limited time offer. Call now, 800-604-5270, or visit SoClean.com today.
A drone comes to the rescue of two swimmers off the coast of Australia. The dramatic rescue captured on camera the drone dropping an inflatable raft down to two teenagers caught in a strong current. Lifeguards were holding a training session to save swimmers at a nearby beach when someone noticed the teens in trouble. The practice turning into a real-life rescue. It is believed to be the first of its kind. Both swimmers expected to be okay. That's amazing.
That is wild. Well, President Trump not going into detail about his strategy for dealing with North Korea. During an interview with the Reuters news agency yesterday, Mr. Trump says he's not ruling out diplomacy despite failed attempts in the past. The president saying, "I'm not sure that talks will lead to anything meaningful. They've talked for 25 years and they've taken advantage of our presidents, of our previous presidents." He goes on to say, "We're playing a very, very hard game of poker and you don't want to reveal your hand." Joining us now, retired U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis. He's also a senior fellow and military expert for defense priorities. Thanks, sir, for being here. There is this notion going around Washington that perhaps you could undertake a limited military strike against North Korea, a so-called bloody nose strike, to paralyze some, element of their infrastructure or their military capability and show them what we are capable of. What do you think of that notion?
Well, let me just tell you flat out, first of all, there will be no war on the Korean Peninsula unless we start one with some kind of preventive action like this attempt at a bloody nose, because it will not work. I mean, look, there is no doubt in anyone's mind on the planet that we have the ability 100 times over to destroy North Korea. So there's no need to do a bloody nose strike to show them that. They already know that.
So then why is Kim Jong-un being so belligerent and threatening, to inflame the United States in a sea of fire, for instance?
Well, I think we have to be very careful to examine exactly what he is saying and look at the reasons why. He is not using, he is not intending to use his military, his nuclear power in order to threaten the United States in terms of an offensive operation. He has been very clear on numerous levels, both in diplomatic and otherwise, that says he wants this as a deterrent. He wants this to prevent the United States from attacking him. And I think that's part of our problem, is that I think we have the idea that he's trying to get this capability so we can attack the United States, and there's no evidence that he would be willing to do that, which is why diplomacy and continuing to talk is so critical, because we don't want to start the very war that we claim we're trying to prevent.
But this president and others have said they will never allow a nuclearized North Korea.
They have said that, and I hope that they would set a different objective, because that's not one that's value or it's valid in terms of the reasons to go to war. You go to war because you're literally being threatened with attacks. For example, if we had even intelligence that said he was preparing to launch a weapon against the United States, that's a valid reason to, in that case, use preemptive war. But if he's not going to attack the United States, I mean, just having a capability is not a reason to go to war, because we have to understand, you wouldn't succeed at taking away his capability. You would just cause him to use it. And that harms our own interests, and we can't do that.
North Korea and South Korea have been holding talks. Some have suggested that the South Koreans are sort of allowing themselves to be taken advantage of and driving a wedge between our country and theirs. What do you think?
Yeah, they're not. Nobody on the planet has more incentive for this to be resolved in diplomatic, political, and non-lethal ways than South Korea, because they would suffer more than anyone if this turns into a war. But concurrently, they also recognize that the United States has been their closest ally, and the reason possibly why there hadn't been any conflict since 1953, when the armistice was signed. So the idea that they would put a wedge between us and side with North Korea over us is just not realistic. And I think you see even within their own internal politics in the last couple of days that there's plenty of people that say, hey, they're very angry at North Korea and said, hey, we're not going to go too far down this road here, because we recognize that our future lies with the protection of the United States and not with North Korea.
Interesting perspective. Retired Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, thank you.
Thank you.
President Trump taking his attacks on the free press to a new level, announcing the winners of the fake news awards. We're going to tell you who got called out. Plus, will the House Intelligence Committee get answers from Steve Bannon? He's back on the Hill today for another hearing.
If they're hinging the entire case on Steve Bannon's credibility, good luck to the prosecution.
Okay, you missed it. Scroll up. Up,
No,
up, up.
go down.
No, down, down,
Ooh,
down.
I want to
down.
watch the one where the guy says, Stella! Hey, Stella!
I wish I could search for it like that.
With Dish, you can. Stop scrolling and just tell the remote.
Here's looking at you, kid.
Wow, that was cool.
I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog, too.
Whoa!
Wait.
That was awesome.
The new Dish voice remote. Stop scrolling. Just say what you want, and it's on. Dish, tuned into you.
What if you had a medical emergency away from home?
My chest hurts. I can't breathe.
What you need is Mobile Help, America's premier mobile medical alert system. Most systems only work at home, but with Mobile Help, you get help outside the home with coverage nationwide on one of the largest cellular networks at the press of a button. Call the number on your screen for a free full-color brochure. We'll send you everything you need, including this base station, the patented mobile device, and the waterproof pendant and wrist button. You can also add the fall button that automatically detects falls and signals help. Call today and receive a risk-free 30-day trial. There is no equipment to buy and no long-term contract. For a limited time, you will also receive a free emergency key box with your plan purchase. Remember, Mobile Help keeps you safe coast to coast.
Call 1-800-922-9316. That's 1-800-922-9316.
Meeting people is my life. I had to be careful how wide I would open my mouth because I was embarrassed to show my teeth. It was time to do something for myself that was going to be permanent.
The Clear Choice one-day approach is making dental implants a reality for people all over the country who suffer from missing or failing teeth.
I felt like I was the most important person on earth to them.
Bill came in, bad teeth, discomfort, pain. We needed to get him into a smile that he felt confident in. We have expertise that he might not find anywhere else, all in one location.
The next day, I had a new smile. Couldn't wait to show some folks. It's amazing what a smile can do for a person.
Discover why this is so much more than another dental procedure. It's a true life changer. With over 30,000 new smiles and counting, we're lifting spirits and confidence all over America. Schedule your free consultation today. We'll even talk about financing options.
I'm eating corn on the cob. I had the best smile I'd ever had in my life.
Call Clear Choice today.
I would like to take a moment to address my fellow veterans because I know there are so many of you who have served your country honorably, whether it's 2 years, 4 years, or 32 years like myself. One of the benefits that we as a country give you as a veteran is your eligibility for a VA loan. Not 80%, but 100% the value of your home, and that's what you can get at New Day USA.
Go to newdayusa.com or call 1-844-647-6712. It's a new day for veterans who need money for their family. Home values are going up and home equity lending is back.
That's me.
New Day USA has helped thousands of veterans close in as little as 30 days through their valuable VA home loan.
That's me.
Cash to pay credit cards, cash for retirement, or cash just to put in the bank. It's a new day in lending, and for veterans who need money, that can mean a lot.
That's me.
Call New Day USA at 1-844-647-6712.
Our position here at the White House is that we welcome access to the media every day. I'm standing right here taking questions. The president does so regularly, and to act as if we're anything but open to that back and forth exchange is utterly ridiculous. Sarah, I know you're all waiting to see if you are big winners, I'm sure.
And new information on those winners, with the president naming CNN, the New York Times, ABC, the Washington Post, Times, and Newsweek as recipients of his fake news awards, just the latest in President Trump's war against the media. And Howard Kurtz is the author of the forthcoming book, Media Madness, Donald Trump, the Press, and the War Over Truth. Kurtz is also a Fox News media analyst and the anchor of Media Buzz. Boy, his bio has gotten very long. Thank you for coming on, sir. So, you know, I didn't get to see it myself, but I saw on social media there were a lot of people that were disappointed that it wasn't a well-choreographed awards program.
It was a rather low-key rollout by Trumpian standards, all done online. No red carpet, no envelopes, no cocktail party. And the RNC website crashed when this first went up. But these 10 cases were basically accurate. I have a couple of quibbles. Let me run through a few of them to give our viewers a sense of it. ABC's Brian Ross did falsely report that candidate Trump had ordered Mike Flynn to get in contact with the Russians during the campaign. It turns out it was President-elect Trump during the transition, which is routine. ABC suspended Brian Ross for a month over that egregious error. CNN had that story that it had to retract and apologize for, saying that the Trump advisor Anthony Scaramucci had a secret meeting with a Russian.
Okay, can you stand on for 1 second, Howard Kurtz? Hang on.
Speaker of the House Paul Ryan at his weekly news address. Let's listen in.
Working for our economy. Yesterday, Apple announced $2,500 bonuses for its employees, as well as the largest investment any company has made in response yet to tax reform. Remember, this is not just happening of the biggest of companies as well. I was in North Prairie, Wisconsin just last Friday. I visited Zero Zone. It's a company that makes refrigerator display cases. We talked about how tax reform is going to help them expand and hire more people. These kinds of decisions are taking place across the country. This is such a change in the past year. Now the conversation is about growing and expanding. Now workers are coming home and telling their families they got a bonus or they got a raise or they got better benefits. You know, I mentioned just yesterday a worker at the Chrysler plant in Belvedere came up to me at my son's basketball game, told me how he's going to get $4,000 more as a result of the bonus and the tax cut. Tax reform is working, and it's helping to improve people's lives, which is exactly why we did it. Next, I talked at CSIS this morning about how critical it is that we fully fund our military. It is the first responsibility of our government. And right now, this is an urgent responsibility as our military faces a serious deterioration of its readiness capabilities. Unfortunately, Democrats don't seem to share that urgency at all. They continue to hold military funding hostage over unrelated issues and deadlines that don't exist. Now they are threatening to shut down the government altogether over these unrelated issues. It is just unconscionable. Our men and women in uniform need our help. They need these resources so they can do their jobs and do it safely. Don't take my word for it. Here is what Senator Schumer himself said in 2013. And let me read you this quote. This is from Senator Schumer. Quote, "We believe strongly in immigration reform. We could say we're shutting down the government until you pass immigration reform. It would be governmental chaos." Close quote, Chuck Schumer, October 6, 2013. This strategy is governmental chaos. I could not agree more. We should not be playing these games. The most responsible thing we can do is avoid that chaos and pass this continuing resolution that we're bringing to the floor. Address the real deadlines that are here. The real deadlines by continuing the funding for our military. Extend the children's health insurance program. And instead of our men and women in uniform being treated like bargaining chips, we can keep working on getting the resources that they need. Now, continuing resolutions are not ideal. That is why the House passed all 12 of the appropriation bills ahead of schedule before the fiscal year. The only reason anyone is even necessary, the only reason we had to pass the CR today is because Democrats refused to close on a spending agreement, taking it hostage for an immigration deal. Again, the most responsible thing we can do for our military and for the country is to keep the government open, pay our troops, put aside the games, move forward, and continue to negotiate with each other in good faith. Questions? Chad.
Explain why your side can't pass this bill with only Republican votes. I understand what you have.
No, we're doing fine.
So this bill will pass.
I have confidence we'll pass this because I think members understand why on earth would we want to have a government shutdown, hurt the military, and by the way, the sequester then on the military starts kicking in due time. That is not in anyone's interest. And so why we would want to feed the idea that we should use our troops as bargaining chips in an unrelated deal. So I think it's unconscionable that Democrats would walk away from chip from funding our military for something that is not a deadline. Let me just tell you one thing, Chad. Look at the states are going to be shutting down CHIP in days. Alabama, Connecticut, Kentucky, Louisiana, Oregon, Virginia, Washington State. These are states that are running out of CHIP money if we don't get this thing passed. And I can't imagine why somebody would want to vote against doing that.
Why do you keep talking about the Democrats if you don't have confidence on your side of the aisle that you can carry this bill with only Republican votes?
I didn't say that. I said that I think the Democrats should join us in passing this bill, and I feel like we're in a good place.
But you said CHIP needs to be renewed right away. The president just signaled this morning that he doesn't think it should be included in this spending bill. So how do you negotiate with Democrats and your own members if you're not sure where he stands?
I am sure where he stands. He fully supports passing this legislation. I just talked to him about an hour and a half ago after my CSIS speech. So
speak this morning.
I didn't see what he wrote, but I've spoken with the president. He fully supports passing what we're bringing to the floor today.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you about the same thing because you say that you didn't.
All right, let me go to the next question.
President said CHIP should be part of a long-term solution, not a 30-day or short-term extension. Is that causing you problems?
No, it's actually not causing us problems at all. You have to. CHIP funding's unique in how it works because some states are doing fine; they have more money, and some states don't. And these short-term patches don't fix those problems. So you really do have states that are actually legitimately running out of money, and the short-term patches don't fix those states. Right behind these 7 states are a whole other tranche of states that will run out of money. We figured out on a bipartisan basis how to renew and extend the CHIP program. It's a bipartisan program.
Does the president understand it?
Yeah, he does understand CHIP.
Broadly beyond CHIP, though, the Senate Majority Leader said yesterday that he has concerns that the president hasn't indicated yet what he's willing to support on a deal for Dreamers.
Well, look,
are you confident that you're clear on what the president would and would not support?
Yeah, the president wants a balanced deal. He wants maneuverability. He said this at the White House event that you guys were all invited into, that you guys talked about, which is he wants to have security. He wants to have a balanced deal. The purpose of getting DACA right is so that we fix DACA once and for all, and we don't create a new DACA problem that we have to address 5 and 10 years down the road. And so the president is clearly giving legislators room to negotiate, but he wants a balanced deal. The president's made it clear that the deal that he was presented with by Graham and Durbin is not a balanced deal, and he doesn't support that. What I've been making clear is we're not going to bring a bill through here that the president's not going to support. What would be the point of passing something that doesn't go into law? We want to pass something that goes into law. And what that means we'll do is pass a balanced deal. But again, what does this have to do with our military? What does this have to do with preventing the children's health insurance program from shutting down in all these states in a few days? What does this have to do with making sure that the men and women who are out there right now putting their lives on the line need what we can give them? What does this have to do with our funding for our troops? It has nothing to do with funding for our troops, and we should not use them as bargaining chips.
Mr. Speaker,
then I'll go back.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I'm picking on front row people too much. I gotta go back to the cheap seats.
Wisconsin and the Big Ten.
Oh wait, yeah, go after. Yeah. Dude, next question.
Just to follow up on Barron's point, though, because of what Leader McConnell said yesterday about not necessarily knowing where the president is, last week you sort of had to serve as translator in chief to a FISA tweet again this morning. These are tough votes for you, tough votes for your conference. Is it helpful? Do you feel like the president is helpful to this process of actually getting 216 or 218?
He is. He's going to the Pentagon today to make the point about why our military is under duress, why our military needs funding. He's obviously supporting getting this done. And the president likes to do things in an unconventional way. He does it with his phone, but it actually does help us with our members. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Lisa from the PBS NewsHour. Politico is reporting that Mr. McConnell is making contingency plans for a possible shutdown. Are you making those plans, and are you open to a 1, 2, or 3 day CR?
Look, I'm not going to sit here and negotiate through the media, but that's up to the Senate Democrats. If the Senate Democrats want to shut the government down, if the Senate Democrats want to deny funding for our troops, if the Senate Democrats want to stop CHIP funding for unrelated issues, that's a choice they would make. I don't think it's a good choice for them to make, but that would be their decision to make. In the back. Who are you? Remember? Yeah.
Who am I? I'm Nash Jenkins from Time Magazine.
Okay, sorry.
This will be I guess the 4th time in as many months that you guys have had to pass a CR. Why is that? Wwhy?
You want me to read my opening again? So, it's a totally legitimate question. I'm not trying to belittle your question. Why are we doing this continuing resolutions? Because Senate Democrats are not allowing appropriation bills to even be brought up for a vote, because they're attaching unrelated issues to cap negotiations. So shouldn't we have regular order on appropriations? Congress agrees on the spending level, and then Congress funds appropriations to those levels. That is how appropriations are supposed to work. The House passed all 12 appropriation bills ahead of schedule this year. The Senate hasn't brought up one appropriation bill, and that's not Mitch McConnell's fault. That is the fault of the fact that it takes 60 votes, and the Senate Democrats are refusing to even exercise the power of the purse, and now they're refusing to get a cap agreement so that we can get the power of the purse exercised, so we can fund the military, fund things like basic health care, fund things like opioids. They're refusing to even do that over these unrelated issues. That's why we are where we are. Andy.
You are aware that Senator McConnell has not attempted to bring up an appropriations bill and that the Senate Appropriations Committee has not drafted.
I am aware of it, and it's because they know they don't have 60 votes to proceed on this thing. I wish they didn't have to get 60 votes to proceed, but it's because of that.
Would you like to see the Senate maybe make more of an effort to demonstrate the points you're making by, like, moving to go to legislation?
Of course I would. I'm a House guy. I always want to see the Senate do more on the legislative calendar. They're pretty busy on their what they call the executive calendar, trying to get personnel through. I sympathize with their problems, but yes, I would love to see people at least have to vote on these things.
Mr. Speaker, what's your case to national security lawmakers who worry that every day under a CR damages the military?
The CR is not good for the military, but what's worse for the military is a government shutdown. What's even worse for the military is a government shutdown followed by a sequester, which is what would happen if we don't pass a CR. We also have passed what we call anomalies. We passed things in these CRs that give the military the flexibility they need during the time of the CR to do what they need to do. But it is clearly less than ideal. I just gave a speech this morning at CSS about this. But what we know for a fact, you can ask Secretary Mattis the same question, is that not passing a CR is much worse and much more damaging for the military, especially when it's followed up with a sequester.
Last question, Mr. Speaker. We've been talking a lot about Senate Democrats today, but I want to be clear on the House and where you're getting the votes for the CR in the House. Is it coming from Defense Hawks and Freedom Caucus members who have been reluctant to support it, or are you expecting Democrats to help?
I feel we're making really good progress with our members. We're having great conversations, and I feel our members are understanding the gravity of the situation. And I think our members do not want to reward using the military as a hostage in this moment.
And that's Republican members, to be clear?
So, Speaker of the House Paul Ryan explaining the state of play of the continuing resolution, the attempt to keep the government open. Will it be successful? We aren't exactly sure. The clock is very much ticking now on that vote, whether or not the government is going to remain open after midnight tomorrow. Let's get a closer look from somebody who is there, who is going to be there for the vote. I'm joined now by Republican Congressman Paul Gosar of Arizona, also a member of the Freedom Caucus. The Freedom Caucus has been something of a burr under the saddle of the House Speaker in this. At least that's how it is portrayed in the media. How do you see it?
Oh, I think we actually are helping. You know, we see CRs not helping our military, John, and we are constantly putting men and women in risk and actually seeing deaths according to the military in regards to not fully funding that. So, you know, the closer we get to a March deadline that the president imposed with the immigration, and you put a funding bill, the more leverage you give to the Democrats. So we want to get this party on. We want to get the show on and fully fund the military and make the Senate make those votes. You know, America needs to understand what the gravity is being held up by arcane rules in the Senate. And that's what we want to see get done. So, I mean, you know, get it on.
You're talking about the filibuster? You'd like to see the filibuster eliminated in the Senate?
I want them to take the vote on not funding our military and the S-chip and everything else, because America needs to understand that the problem that we've got is faced with the minority in the Senate. And so let's make them cast that vote. You know, Manchin and Heidi Heitkamp and all those that actually are running for re-election in states that the president won. It's time to get that on. Go early, go big, and go now.
So you think that Freedom Caucus members would join other House Republicans in passing something out of the House?
Oh, absolutely. You know, that's the key. I'm done, and I think the American public is done with, pussyfooting around with the Senate. That's the key, is that we got to make people be big boys and girls and take votes.
What about the Senate Democrats' contention that DACA has to be part of any funding legislation?
It's not. I mean, we promised the American people to build a wall, no amnesty, and everything else. And we're going to live by those agreements. You have a conversation about immigration, it shouldn't be attached to a funding bill, and it shouldn't be used as extortion. And so from that standpoint, if that's what you want, then, let's get it on right now, because the leverage is on our side. Do it now. Don't wait till the very end and the last moment when bad deals are done. Let's do what the American people sent us to do here. Pass budgets, fund our military, and then have the conversation about immigration.
We will see what happens this afternoon and again tomorrow at midnight. Representative
John, the other thing that people fail to realize is that the president has got a lot of keys. And if the Democrats want to shut it down, he can make everything an essential service. And so business goes on as usual. So let's know the rules of the game that we can actually play to make sure that the American people and our military win.
Sounds
interesting.
Yeah. Representative Paul Gosar, Republican of Arizona. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Congress has to pass a funding bill to avoid a government shutdown. That's what they were just talking about, and they have to do it soon. We're going to talk about the Republican plan for a vote later today.
Manolo, you're so cold. Come in. What's wrong?
It's dry.
Your scalp might get dry in the winter, too. Try Head & Shoulders Dry Scalp Care. It nourishes the scalp and keeps you up to 100% flake-free. Head & Shoulders Dry Scalp Care.
So I think I got to get my roof repaired. You know anybody?
Yeah, actually I might.
Yeah, great. Can you do a free background check on them? Get me some additional quotes and book it for 2 weeks from now.
You can't expect your neighbors to do everything HomeAdvisor can. So to find and book a top-rated home pro for free, just ask HomeAdvisor.
These are scary times. North Korea, ISIS, terrorism around the globe, even the threat of natural disasters. If you feel at risk, you're not alone. Protect your family for up to 25 years. Call Wise Food Storage and stock up on their easy-to-prepare foods that have a shelf life of up to 25 years. In a crisis, don't worry about what your family will eat. Get your free sample now. Call in the next 15 minutes and get your free survival guide. Call 800-880-3930.
Saturday, Cavuto is live for 2 hours. 1 year after the inauguration, Neil breaks down the president's accomplishments, agenda, and how it all impacts you. Don't miss Cavuto Live.
Who can be a victim of identity theft? Anyone. You, me, even reality TV star and owner of the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop, Rick Harrison.
Identity thieves don't care who you are. They just want the money. My identity was stolen. I had over a dozen credit cards and accounts all across the country. I don't know how to fix identity theft.
Rick Harrison helps protect his identity with LifeLock.
Over a dozen accounts were opened in my name, and LifeLock helped fix things every time.
Credit card notifications and checking statements don't show you enough. Even if you monitor your credit, you can miss certain identity theft threats. LifeLock's proprietary network sees more, like your information being sold on the dark web. If there is a problem, our U.S.-based restoration agents dedicated to your case will work to fix it.
As a LifeLock member, I have a whole team of people who've got my back. If there's a problem, I got my guys.
When someone takes what's yours, you want it back. With LifeLock's $1 million protection package, if your money is taken or if you have expenses due to identity theft, LifeLock will either get it back for you or reimburse you for it up to the limit of your plan. Plus, we'll provide lawyers and experts if that's what it takes.
When I don't know enough about something, I call in an expert. When it comes to my identity, the expert I use is LifeLock.
Join today for as low as $9.99 per month and get 30 days free with promo code JOINNOW. LifeLock members get identity threat detection and alerts, a dedicated U.S.-based restoration agent assigned to your case, and you'll be covered by LifeLock's $1 million protection package. Start your membership today. Enroll in minutes.
It's sort of like having your big 400-pound bodyguard standing next to you. No. Deal with him.
LifeLock. Call 1-800-495-0973 or visit LifeLockSpecial.com. Use promo code JOINNOW to get 30 days free and a free shredder with annual membership. Call right now.
Coming up on Outnumbered, big questions on Capitol Hill today for the former chief of staff who fired FBI Director James Comey. asking questions about that. On that memo exonerating Hillary Clinton and her email investigation drafted before key witnesses were ever interviewed. And about political bias at the FBI. Remember those anti-Trump text messages between the two agents? One was a paramour. They were having an affair.
We remember, plus backlash against Senator Jeff Flake from his own party after his scathing speech criticizing President Trump's relationship with the media on the Senate floor yesterday, whether his antagonism is hurting the party's agenda.
And we have somebody outnumbered in the middle. You'll find out who that is top of the hour. See you then.
The budget battle that could force a government shutdown less than 2 days from now could impact our military. Jennifer Griffin is live from the Pentagon with more on this. Jennifer.
Melissa, President Trump has been meeting with his Joint Chiefs and Defense Secretary for the past hour here at the Pentagon. He arrived here to be briefed on the new National Defense Strategy, which Secretary Mattis is rolling out tomorrow, and the Nuclear Posture Review, which includes adding low-yield tactical nukes and over $1 trillion of badly needed upgrades over the next 30 years. All of these plans that the president is being briefed on today will come to naught if Congress can't come up with a budget deal. The president addressed the cameras on his arrival at the Pentagon, warning the military would be hurt most if there's no deal.
But if for any reason it shuts down, the worst thing is what happens to our military. We're rebuilding our military. We're bringing it to a level that it's never been at. And the worst thing is for our military. We don't want that to happen.
In an unusual move, the Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, spoke at a Washington think tank this morning about how dire the circumstances are for the military if a deal doesn't get done. Ryan wasn't always a defense hawk. In fact, the moderator today said in all his 30 years in the defense world, it was the first time he had seen a Speaker of the House make this kind of plea for defense spending.
The defense budget is being held hostage for DACA, which is not a deadline that expires tomorrow. Good faith negotiations are underway right now, but we should not be holding hostage the military for this.
Congress is likely to pass another short-term spending bill to fund the government, but that doesn't get the military its desperately needed new jets, and repairs to ships will be slowed. Melissa.
Jennifer Griffin, thank you.
Meantime, the House Intelligence Committee hearing from former FBI Director James Comey's chief of staff with the focus on the Hillary Clinton email scandal and the drafting of that exoneration memo. What lawmakers are learning.
Touch is how we communicate with those we love. But when your psoriasis is bad, does it ever get in the way? Embrace the chance of 100% clear skin with Taltz. Taltz is proven to help people with moderate to severe psoriasis achieve completely clear skin. With Taltz, up to 90% of patients had a significant improvement of their psoriasis plaques. In fact, 4 out of 10 even achieved completely clear skin. Don't use if you're allergic to Taltz. Before starting, you should be checked for tuberculosis. Taltz may increase risk of infections and lower your ability to fight them. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or have symptoms, or if you've received a vaccine or plan to. Inflammatory bowel disease can happen with Taltz, including worsening of symptoms. Serious allergic reactions can occur. Ready for a chance at 100% clear skin? Ask your doctor about Taltz today and go to Taltz.com to learn how to pay as little as $5 a month.
Do you have a life insurance policy you no longer need or can't afford? Now you can sell your policy for an immediate payment.
We bought life insurance when our kids were young, to protect their future.
Our youngest just turned 40, and we no longer needed the coverage.
That got us to thinking about letting our policy go. So I did some research and called Coventry Direct. I learned that you could sell all or part of a life insurance policy, even a term life policy. Turns out, people have been selling policies like ours for the past 15 years. Who knew? We sold our policy. Now we have money to help with the medical bills.
And to add to our retirement.
If you have $100,000 or more of life insurance, you may be a candidate to sell your policy. Call 1-800-471-6800 or visit CoventryDirect.com for a free information packet. 1-800-471-6800. Coventry Direct, redefining insurance.
Before Habit, I had a war with food. What I learned from my Habit test was my body can handle carbs and fats really well, and so food became exciting again. After 12 weeks, I've noticed that I have a lot more energy throughout the day. I'm able to be present even in those afternoon meetings. I'm sleeping better, and my clothes are fitting better. Before Habit, I was following the rules for everyone, and now I follow the rules that are right for me.
I was out here smoking instead of being there for my son's winning shot. That was it for me. That's why I'm quitting with Nicorette.
Only Nicorette Mini has a patented fast-dissolving formula. It starts to relieve sudden cravings fast.
Every great why needs a great how.
I, like everyone else, would like to know the answer.
Bill Clinton lived a double life.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Scandalous, a 7-part series. Premieres Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Fox News Channel.
Markets down. You got to watch the close today on FBN.
It's going to be fascinating.
There you go.
Thanks for joining us.
Outnumbered starts right now.
It is go time. Fox News alert on that critical vote this afternoon. House Republicans are trying to pass a bill to avoid a government shutdown. The deadline to reach an agreement is tomorrow at midnight. Top Democrats are against it because it does not include protections for some illegal immigrants. Some conservative Republicans are also against it, may vote no. A short time ago, President Trump said a shutdown would hurt the economy and the military. This is Outnumbered. I'm Harris Faulkner. Here today, Sandra Smith. The editor of townhall.com, Katie Pavlich. Former deputy spokesperson for the State Department, Marie Harf. And Outnumbered this hour, the editor-in-chief of the Weekly Standard and Fox News contributor, Stephen Hayes, is here. Ooh. Great day to have you.
It's a good day to be here. Good day to get out of Washington.
Oh, well,
of course, any day is a good day to get out of Washington.
There you go. All right, well, we're going to talk about Washington, though, and we're glad you're here. Here we go.
Thanks for having me.
Lawmakers on Capitol Hill are cutting it very close. They have until midnight tomorrow to approve a temporary measure to fund the government through the middle of February. The House votes later today, we're told. Republicans can only afford to lose 23 votes before needing Democrats to fill the void. Conservative members don't appear to be on board just yet. And in the past hour, President Trump arrived at the Pentagon to talk about military strategy. And he suggested that Democrats may be pushing for a shutdown to stall a growing economy. Watch.
Our tax cuts and our tax reform has turned out to be far greater than anybody ever anticipated. And I'm sure the Democrats would like to blunt that by shutting down government. But again, the group that loses big would be the military, and we're never letting our military lose at any point.
Here's Democratic leader Chuck Schumer with some strong words against the plan and saying Republicans will get the blame if the government shuts down.
The revulsion towards that bill was broad and strong. We want to do everything we can to avoid a shutdown, but we Democrats believe if there is one, it'll fall on the Republicans' backs. Who called for the shutdown? Not a Democrat, but Donald Trump has repeatedly said on tape over and over again what the country needs is a good shutdown.
Democratic Senator Joe Manchin says the only ones who are going to lose in a shutdown are the American people.
I believe that we should work right through this. We should be able to work to keep this government operating the way we're supposed to do, and to punish 300 million plus people. It's just ridiculous for our dysfunction here. You've been here long enough now to hear people as upset as I am, frustrated, talking about a shutdown, and basically all it's about is working through and getting an agreement that we can all agree on.
So, Stephen, a couple of people now are popping up. You've got Senator Lindsey Graham on the Senate side who says he may not vote for this continuing resolution because it doesn't deal with DACA.
Right.
Almost sounding like a Democrat on that side. And then you've got Representative Massey in the House saying, you know what, I'm just not happy with all the spending. You just gave tax cuts and now you want to create more deficit. These are Republicans. What do you say?
Well, there's another group of immigration hawks who's not happy that there hasn't been a standalone vote on a provision or a bill by Judiciary Chairman Goodlatte want to toughen up the immigration. So you've got Republicans in a variety of different camps. What Paul Ryan is trying to do is, to use the old cliche, herd cats. I mean, he's trying to get them together to pass this continuing resolution to get to the next continuing resolution.
Because they really don't need Democrats, Katie. The Republicans can do this on their own. So what is the hitch in the get-along?
Well, I think it's fair to have the argument about spending. It's not great that it's coming up against the CR, but the fact is that we did just have massive tax cuts, and we haven't talked about spending cuts at all in the last year in terms of what Republicans have run on in their campaigns for nearly a decade. So I think that's a fair conversation to have. What I don't think is a fair conversation to have is the conversation that Democrats want to have on DACA right now. This is something they have some time on. They're not necessarily up against a deadline on this specific issue, and they're using it as a way to go after Republicans in 2018, and they're using it as a way that they can get what they want in the bill right now.
I know you had Raj Shah on your show the other day, right? You
yesterday.
led off with him. He is the White House Deputy Press Secretary. He just released a statement from the White House saying the president supports the continuing resolution introduced in the House. Congress needs to do its job and provide full funding of our troops and military with the 2-year budget caps deal. However, as the deal is negotiated, the statement reads, the president wants to ensure our military and national security are funded. He will not let it be held hostage by Democrats.
So, I mean, when you hear Democrats saying, no, the president has called, Marie, for so much of a shutdown, it actually has not been this cycle. It has not been about this very issue, about this time with the CR. He wants to see something done. He also said in a tweet that he doesn't want to see that very important child's health insurance program, CHIP, be tied to any sort of a CR. It should have a permanent solution.
Well, what's interesting is the proposal that Republicans on the Hill came up with was for a 6-year extension of CHIP funding. Right. So it seems like Donald Trump wasn't aware of the specifics of the proposal. That is not temporary. That is a 6-year fully funded program.
Well, the White House was aware. I had Raj Shah on yesterday.
The White House may have been. When Donald Trump tweeted this morning, it did not appear that he knew that CHIP was going to be funded for 6 years, as we were talking about earlier. The problem is, Lindsey Graham today on the record said we don't have a reliable negotiating partner in the White House. Republicans have no idea what the bottom lines are. Democrats have put a number of different proposals on the table. They are willing to compromise. But at this point, you have Paul Ryan, you're absolutely right, trying to herd cats. You already have at least two Republican senators saying they will vote no. This will be the first time that a party that controls the White House and both chambers of Congress in the modern era shuts down its own government if they do so.
Well, Mark me down is skeptical that Democrats really want to get a deal here. I think they're happy to have Republicans in disarray like they are right now. But I think you're absolutely right when you talk about the president's tweet this morning. It sowed confusion among House Republicans. It's the third time in 3 weeks that he's done this. The first time was on DACA when he had that meeting in public and appeared to embrace Senator Feinstein's call for a clean DACA. The second was on the FISA, where he tweeted that morning and sowed confusion among House Republicans who had been scrambling
Well, it
to
gave
get people
life
on
to
board.
Senator Rand Paul on the issue trying to protect Americans.
It did.
Through
and then this morning, the
warrants
same reaction on Capitol Hill this morning. House Republican leadership said, oh, this is the last thing we need as the president to call into question. He seems to be unfamiliar with what his positions are, or what the White House's positions are.
You're starting to sound a little bit like Chief of Staff John Kelly, and we'll leave that conversation to come up a little later. But specific to this issue, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said we just need to know what the president will pass. What does that look like? Katie, has the president not been clear enough? I mean, let's set the tweets aside. We know when he talks about this, he does not want the government to shut down.
Sure, but the tweets come from the president. So when he says something on Twitter that doesn't match up with what what has been conveyed through official channels, people in the House, Republicans in the House and the Senate, want to know specifically what the president wants so they can get his agenda passed. And if there's a conflicting message on social media versus the official channels where it has been communicated, that is a problem. But can I just say, as an American, this ridiculous CR, every 4 months we have this huge crisis and we're negotiating and passing bad legislation every single time because Congress isn't doing their job on a permanent budget resolution every single year. It's ridiculous. It's absurd. And they're not doing a basic function of their job over and over again.
I hear a lot of frustration on both sides of the argument here. Moving on to this, President Trump and his chief of staff both weighing in on that southern border wall the president has been promising. John Kelly met with some Democrats yesterday and reportedly told them there are parts of the southern border where a solid concrete wall is not needed. He said campaigning is different than actually governing and elaborated on his remarks in an interview last night with Brett Baer.
There's been an evolutionary process that this president has gone through as a campaign, and I pointed out to all of the members that were in the room that they all say things during the course of campaigns that may or may not be fully informed. But this president, if you've seen what he's done, he has changed the way he's looked at a number of things. He has evolved in the way he's looked at things. Campaign to governing are two different things, and this president is very, very, very flexible in terms of what is within the realm of the possible.
President Trump tweeting this morning, quote, "The wall is the wall. It has never changed or evolved from the first day I conceived of it. Parts will be, of necessity, see-through, and it was never intended to be built in areas where there is natural protection, such as mountains, wastelands, or tough rivers or water. The wall will be paid for directly or indirectly, or through longer-term reimbursement by Mexico, which has a ridiculous $71 billion trade surplus with the U.S. The $20 billion wall is peanuts compared to what Mexico makes from the U.S. NAFTA is a bad joke," writes the president. This as sources tell Fox News that Trump was, quote, "furious" over Kelly's comments on the wall and told him as much when he got back to the White House last night. He didn't like the words that John Kelly used, including that the president has evolved and that he wasn't fully informed as a candidate when he was making his proclamations about building a wall.
Well, look, I think Brett did a fantastic job with that interview, in part because he let John Kelly talk. He asked him the questions and then he got out of the way, and John Kelly talked and talked and talked. And Brett asked him about a Washington Post story that had been published that afternoon that suggested that John Kelly had told this Congressional Hispanic Caucus that the president wasn't fully informed when he made his campaign promises, that he was evolving, that he was open to some compromise, that there wouldn't be a wall, that Mexicans wouldn't pay for it. And now you've seen the president try to recharacterize those arguments. I think if you go back and look at the rhetoric that the president used during the campaign, this is different. What we're hearing from the president now is different. It's more nuanced. You know, people will debate whether it's a broken promise or not when we get through the process. But it's rhetorically, this is a different message that the president is sending. But I think the key point here, as with what we were just talking about on the shutdown, these are mixed messages.
Right.
You have the president saying one thing, you have his chief of staff saying something.
I would ask you, Katie, and challenge you.
I don't think it's really fair for John Kelly to be getting heat for using terms like evolved or saying things like the president is now governing rather than campaigning, because Sarah Sanders uses that argument quite often in the press briefings. But in terms of the evolution of what has been said about the messaging, if you go back to the early days of the campaign, I'm talking about 2015, candidate Trump did talk about the wall in terms of a wall that went all the way across, and then that language changed going into 2016 to him saying half a dozen times, there are natural barriers that we can use. We don't have to spend all the money building a wall all the way across. These things have changed. But in terms of what they're going to do now, they have these prototypes ready to go in San Diego. The president's likely going to go visit them. But I don't know why this is part of the conversation right now when we're up against a budget dilemma.
Just to further your point about how early on that conversation was, it actually made it into the revamped Republican platform, if you'll recall. There was language in there that said wall in our entire southern border. Those words were actually part of that. Right. So obviously there's been evolution. I'm just a little confused about, you know, how we get to the point where the chief of staff and the president aren't on the same page going out into
Is that fair to say they're not on the same page, though?
Well, when you mention the word evolved, and it seems to take exception to the word evolution, I think that is fair to say. When you talk about NAFTA, he doesn't like NAFTA, but he just said in a recent tweet, NAFTA needs to stay. I think that is a bit of conflict. I'm just looking for the resolution of it so we can talk about
I mean, I think the reason that the president tweeted what he tweeted this morning was to correct or append additional information to what John Kelly had said last night. And as you said in the intro, Fox's reporting confirmed that the president had been frustrated with John Kelly. That certainly suggests to me that there's some tension there.
Well, and to be fair, too, presidents do campaign on, you know, outside of Trump. Everyone campaigns on a certain set of issues. And when you get seated at the Oval Office desk, sometimes your views change on that.
That's okay.
We've seen that happen repeatedly.
Evolving is excellent.
And John Kelly is the best person that he could ask as a former DHS secretary to brief him and evolve,
but you knew that's how the president would react to those words, and you could just count the minutes down until the tweet came. You knew. I think they're a good thing.
Well, we saw him traveling in the motorcade together. They were traveling together today, so.
I mean, it's not a divorce. It's just, you know, kind of going forward. The president could own this and say, remember, I'm not the political person that everybody else was. I'm not that typical politician.
And John
of course
Kelly
I'm going to evolve.
John Kelly isn't a political person. The difference, I think, is that often you see these disagreements take place behind the scenes. With this administration, increasingly, we see the disputes in public.
Right. All right, we'll leave it there. Stinging reaction to GOP Senator Jeff Flake's speech bashing President Trump over his criticism of the media. Whether other Republicans agree and how the White House has responded. Plus, sanctuary cities refusing to cooperate with an upcoming federal illegal immigration sweep in Northern California. Does this make communities less safe? And could city officials face consequences for their failure to comply?
This program is brought to you by America's biopharmaceutical companies. Go boldly.
Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Do not go gentle into that good night.
Good questions lead to good answers. Our advisors can help you find both. Talk to one today and see why we're bullish on the future. Yours.
Patrick woke up with back pain, but he has work to do, so he took a leave. If he'd taken Tylenol, he'd be stopping for more pills right now. Only Aleve has the strength to stop tough pain for up to 12 hours with just one pill. Aleve, all day strong.
I lost this much weight on Jenny Craig.
Introducing Rapid Results by Jenny Craig. Lose up to 16 pounds in just 4 weeks and see real results with the support of a weight loss expert and chef-crafted food. Call now to get Rapid Results by Jenny Craig.
Hello, I'm an Idaho potato farmer. You've probably seen me running all over the country in search of our big Idaho potato truck. But not anymore. I'm done with that. Hot. Just going to stay home on the farm, eat a beautiful Idaho potato, and watch TV with my dog.
The big Idaho potato truck pulled into town today, and it's really a sight to see.
Oh, man. Let's go. You coming, boy?
Watch Fox News Channel anytime, anywhere. Fox News Go.
Hi, I'm Joan Lennon with A Place for Mom. Every day we hear from families who partnered with a senior living advisor from A Place for Mom to help find the perfect place for their mom or dad.
Thank you so much for your assistance in helping us find a place. Mom feels safe and comfortable and has met many wonderful residents and staffers.
Thank you for helping our family find our father a new home. We especially appreciate the information about the VA Aid and Attendance Program.
I feel I found the right place, a perfect fit. You were my angel and helped guide me every step of the way. Thank you.
The senior living advisors at A Place for Mom partner with thousands of families every month, listening and offering local knowledge and advice to help find the best senior living communities across the country. And it won't cost you a cent. This is a free service. Call today. A Place for Mom. You know your family. We know senior living. Together, we'll make the right choice.
Whew, it was hot. New reaction now to Republican Senator Jeff Flake's speech on the Senate floor yesterday when he blasted the president for his ongoing feud with the media. The senator compared the president's rhetoric to that of Soviet dictator Joseph Stalin. Fellow Republicans weighing in. Senator Roger Wicker said this, quote, "I don't think that sort of speech is helpful. I disagree with those quotes. I don't see any need to further stir that pot," end quote. Senator Jim Inhofe saying of Flake, who is not seeking re-election, I think we all knew that, quote, "He hates him. He doesn't like the president. And it gets closer to the end of his time here. I think he's going to accelerate his wrath against the president," end quote. The White House had this.
He's not criticizing the president because he's against oppression. He's criticizing the president because he has terrible poll numbers. And he is, I think, looking for some attention. I think it's unfortunate.
Well, I guess you can get attention by lambasting the president when you vote with him 92% of the time.
Yeah, look, I don't think that what Jeff Flake is doing is primarily about attention. I think he does have these concerns. I've talked to him about it. I think he does have these concerns, and I think some of his concerns are legitimate. Now, I wouldn't suggest that the president is comparable to Joseph Stalin, but some of the things the president has said about the media being the enemy of the American people, I think, are irresponsible. The White House would be much better off, in my view, to make substantive critiques of media bias and unfair coverage when they can. And there are lots of opportunities.
They do, actually. I mean, if you watch those press briefings on a regular basis, there are examples
It's
given.
very good for the White House to push back on substance, to correct erroneous reporting. The Bush administration didn't do that hardly at all, certainly didn't do it often enough. It's long past time for conservatives to stand up to the mainstream media, to the establishment media, and challenge them.
So let's put the shoe on the other foot, meaning Senator Jeff Flake. Why wouldn't he want to handle it then based on substance? Why did it get personal? Katie?
Well, I think if you listen to what Jeff Flake has said, he said, look, I vote with the president, but this is more of a personal issue. He believes that now you have to be lambastic in your approach to politics. You can't just simply talk about policy. But I agree with Steve. I think the White House has a problem with, you know, they don't just go after facts that are wrong. They tend to go after reports that they simply don't like and call it fake as well. And they would be more effective if they would just go after the things that aren't true. That being said, I think Jeff Flake's speech is completely over the line. This president hasn't issued any kind of decree that is official with the government to go after the press. We haven't seen Congress introduce any kind of legislation. As far as we know, the Justice Department isn't listening in on phone calls or watching reporters and what their movements are between government agencies as they tap in and tap out. So I think we have a long way to go before what the president has been accused
I just think that it's
and
time
between
to ask
what he's said and what he's done.
What is a speech like that? Who's that helping? I mean, for a senator to take to the Senate floor,
the media likes it,
to use that opportunity to compare the sitting president to Joseph Stalin, just is that helping anybody?
Well, I do think this is what he firmly believes, and it's not just about attention. Believe me, I actually think he would be happy to go home and never have the spotlight again.
Well, he did have a book out when some of this started.
And I've read it, and it's a very thoughtful book. I don't agree with most of his policies, but you're allowed to do things publicly for good reasons, and I think that's what he's doing here. And I think one of the biggest problems that he feels, and Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, you know him better, I think he's been bothered that other Republicans who have a future in politics, unlike he doesn't anymore, that they're not willing to stand up.
So let me pick up on that
and
point,
I think
because
that bothers
let me
him.
pick up on that point, because Sandra, you did an interview this morning with Senator Rubio that I watched, and what made an impression on me is when you ask him, you know, what did you think of the speech? He said, well, I wasn't there. Okay, I know a lot of people are busy, but it's a speech about the president on the Senate floor, and it struck me that he doesn't have that sort of, you know, oh yeah, we agree with you, Jeff Flake, and it might be because he compares the president to Stalin, which, by the way, was part and parcel how he built up, you know, eyeballs to the speech.
Or because other
all week
Republicans,
long, he talked about that.
Other Republicans are trying to cover for the president, even when they disagree with him privately, and I think that bothers a lot of people.
Look, the bottom line is if you have serious concerns about the way the president speaks about the press, calling them the enemy of the people, which is totally legitimate to not like that kind of language, if you want to have a serious conversation, you can't compare President Trump to Joseph Stalin. It ends the conversation.
But you can if you want people to watch your speech.
Right.
He could have changed it before he stepped on.
What end game is that?
Let's quickly go to Congressman Steve Russell and get his take on it, and then we'll bring this into the conversation.
I think that both sides need to call a truce. It's not healthy to the United States. As the media tries to poke the president in the eye and he pokes back, and you know, all we got is a bunch of blind people that are mad about what's going on.
So what does that? My question is, what does that mean? So he's calling on the president and the media to call a truce. I don't think I know what that means.
I take his point. I think I know where he's coming from. He's a smart member of Congress. I think what he's saying is let's focus on the real issues and not just trade personal barbs back and forth. But like I said earlier, I think the White House has legitimate. No, it's not realistic, but it's look. I can see why he would make the argument if you're a member of Congress and you want to get back to actually legislating. The White House has legitimate beefs. I mean, there are some places you go, whether you're clicking around on cable or reading mainstream publications, where the antipathy for President Trump is so over the top. He can't even get a sentence out of his mouth. Criticized or minimized, but it's also the case that the White House is much better off focusing on substantive arguments when they push back on the press.
All right, we'll move on. Americans appear to be split over the fairness of Robert Mueller's Russia investigation, what a new poll shows. And James Comey's former chief of staff at the FBI is now in the hot seat. The questions lawmakers have about that controversial memo that exonerated Hillary Clinton even before key witnesses and Clinton herself were interviewed. We'll talk about it. Stay close.
Hi, I'm Ty Young. What if there was an literally go up with your money, never down, forwards and never backwards? What if that investment strategy actually existed? Good news, it does. Get your investor's kit and I'll personally explain on the DVD how it works. You decide if it's right for you.
Get your investor's kit. Call 800-557-7379 or tyjyoung.net.
Have you been diagnosed with spinal stenosis, bulging or herniated disc, sciatica, or other chronic spine conditions? Are you ready to find lasting relief? Call Laser Spine Institute, the nation's leader in minimally invasive spine surgery, to learn how a less than 1-inch incision can have you up and walking within a few hours of surgery, free from chronic back pain, and with no hospital stay and no lengthy recovery.
Call 1-800-560-BACK now for your no-cost MRI review.
Take your first step in joining over 60,000 patients who found lasting relief at Laser Spine Institute.
My boss would send me home because I was in excruciating pain. Going to Laser Spine Institute, I go in, I have the procedure, and walk out a changed person, good to go back to work. It's changed my life completely.
If you've been told you might need neck or back surgery, call 1-800-560-BACK now for your no-cost MRI review.
Laser Spine Institute, a less than 1-inch incision, a lifetime of standing tall.
Not having a good breakfast can make you feel like your day never started. Get going with Carnation Breakfast Essentials High Protein Drink. It has 21 vitamins and minerals with 15 grams of protein to help you be your best. Try our high protein drink.
Have you ever seen something so beautiful that all you could say was, wow? Beaches, Turks, and Caicos, where anything is possible because everything is included. Wow. Get up to 65% off. Call 1-800-BEACHES.
Check out Turbo 13 from Nutrisystem.
Introducing new for 2018, Turbo 13 from Nutrisystem, our best program ever. Lose up to 13 pounds and 7 inches overall your first month. Money back guaranteed.
I'm Marie and I lost 50 pounds on Nutrisystem.
Our biggest selection of foods and most frozen items ever. Delicious and convenient. Order your 28-day plan right now and we'll rush you Turbo 13 with our new Turbo Takeoff Week with new foods. Plus a week of probiotic and delicious turbo shakes. All new NutriCurve bars and metabolism boosters. Free. A $70 value specially designed to rev your metabolism, help shrink your belly, and jumpstart your weight loss.
You'll see results right away.
Returning customer? Ask about our special offer just for you. Call or go online the next 2 minutes and we'll throw in FedEx shipping free. Lose up to 13 pounds and 7 inches overall your first month.
Go online or call 888-522-SIZE right now and get Turbo 13 with a Turbo Takeoff Week, plus bars, shakes, and metabolism boosters free.
Did you know that silver is considered one of the world's most useful commodities, second only to oil? You could invest in an oil field, or you can buy silver, the world's miracle metal. With endless uses in green energy, electronics, and medicine, discover why the experts say silver is the new oil.
Investing in silver is the perfect way to protect your wealth.
Silver is actually my favorite investment, particularly at this price.
I love silver.
Call Lear Capital at 1-800-787-1966 to get this special report, Sky High Silver and Experts DVD. Plus, first-time callers also get this 1-gram silver bar free. Discover why Rich Dad Poor Dad's best-selling author Robert Kiyosaki loves silver and why these experts see silver as a win-win investment. Learn how to protect and grow your hard-earned savings. Remember, first-time callers get this 1-gram silver bar free. This offer ends soon. Call 1-800-787-1966. 1-800-787-1966.
Fox News alert President Trump's attorney telling CBS News the president is, quote, very eager to speak to special counsel Robert Mueller and that he wants to put the Russia investigation to rest. Last week, the president said that any sit down would be unlikely since, as he insists, there was no collusion. Meanwhile, new polling shows Americans are split on whether they think the probe is fair. 48% think the Russia probe has been fair. More than a quarter think it has not been fair, and about a quarter are unsure. But there is largely agreement that Mueller should not be fired. 68% say Mueller should be allowed to finish what he started. And Steve Hayes says what to that?
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, it's interesting to look almost 2-to-1 that people think that the probe has been fair. Mm-hmm. There have been, I think, legitimate questions raised by some Republicans about, in particular, the texts back and forth between the FBI officials who were involved in this investigation and raising questions about their ability to let their private views remain private and not affect the work that they were doing.
And involved with each other.
I mean, look, there's a whole host of problems involving that. It will be helpful to learn more, and it'll be helpful to learn more about from James Comey's chief of staff as to what happened with that memo. Why was it drafted in May when the statement came out in July?
Maria, something tells me I can guess what you think about all this.
I largely agree, and I think that, well, but the poll is interesting. I would love to see the breakdown. That probably is a fairly partisan breakdown. I would guess, and that's not to be unexpected in this time we're living in. I do think Donald Trump is going to have to sit down with Bob Mueller. You know, there's a long history. I mean, think about President Clinton's taped video interview during Ken Starr. I think he will have to. And the more he tries to negotiate out of it or says he shouldn't have to, it won't look good for him publicly. He's going to have to, and that will be big. That will be a big deal, I think.
I think about 6 months ago, the president realized that Robert Mueller may be interviewing him. We haven't seen a direct attack on Twitter from the president against Robert Mueller in a little while. But the other part of this polling, too, and separately, is that most people actually don't care about the Russia probe. So although these people may have an opinion, most people actually don't think it's a main concern of theirs in their everyday lives.
So there is a man in the studio carrying a big camera, and he's going to go and show you on the wall the breakdown, because Maria, you brought this up. The Russia probe, fair by party identification.
Yes, there you go.
Democrats, 72%. Republicans, 26%. Independents, 46%.
And you said there was a man in the studio. I was looking around. I was like, what?
He has a beautiful camera that he wears, and he scans the wall for us.
That's not surprising. I mean, it's a little disturbing. I wish that more Republicans could take the issue of Russia interfering apart from the issue of collusion and say they're concerned about one and they want to prevent one. Okay, that doesn't give space on the other.
I will say Democrats, however, early on made the one about the other.
So those numbers aren't surprising, but the number I actually am very heartened by is the one that he should not be fired. I think that most Americans should agree that he can finish out his investigation, that it's important.
But to address your argument of needing to separate the two, collusion versus other, that may be true. However, this investigation is not separated that way. I mean, you have the indictments that have come down being not about collusion, but about personal business dealings and lying to the FBI. And so it's difficult to separate those two things when the investigation itself is mixing them together.
Well, and the interesting part of the investigation I think we will hear more about is the obstruction of justice piece. We focus so much on the collusion piece. Right, we focus so much on the collusion piece. All right. I think we're going to focus more on the obstruction.
One thing we can be sure of is that Bob Mueller and his investigators have a mountain of information that none of us know anything about at this point.
All right, if we could, I know we're going to get to the next subject, but I wanted to break down the impression that is out there of Special Counsel Robert Mueller as this polling reveals. If lucky, can scan the wall again. Favorable 29%, unfavorable 29%, unsure in that category 42%. So of those polled, many are just don't know how they feel about him or how they see him.
Yeah, and I think that's to be expected. Remember, he received very high marks when he was named. You had people across the political spectrum saying, Bob Mueller's a good person for this job. I think part of what Trump defenders and Republicans generally have tried to do is dirty him up a little bit. I mean, they want to cast some doubt on his credibility as the investigation proceeds.
Yeah, well, and it has gone wide-ranging, and it's been millions of dollars later.
Yeah. Well, in similar news, fired FBI Director James Comey's former second-in-command, FBI Chief of Staff James Rybicki, will be on the hot seat today, testifying behind closed doors to 2 House committees on the Hillary Clinton email probe. A big topic: why Comey drafted an exoneration letter before key witnesses and Clinton herself were interviewed. Trey Gowdy, chairman of one of the committees, says there is evidence that Clinton's case was handled differently from any other that FBI agents can recall.
There was an exoneration memo drafted in May of 2016 that, as a former prosecutor, I just found stunning. I find stunning that a law enforcement officer would draft it 2 months before you have interviewed the target of the investigation and before you've interviewed almost 24 witnesses. So we need to know what role, if any, Special Agent Rybicki had in that. We need to know whether or not there was also a prosecution memo. We've seen the non-prosecution memo. Was there a memo laying out the case if they had decided to prosecute, and if not, why not?
Comey's former deputy also expected to face questions on Peter Strzok, the FBI official who also played a key role in drafting Clinton's exoneration. Strzok was dismissed from the Mueller probe for exchanging anti-Trump texts with a bureau lawyer. Steve, how does the credibility of this investigation and how they handled the Clinton investigation affect the credibility of the special counsel?
Well, that's a good question. I'm not sure, but there are real questions about this investigation. I think Trey Gowdy raises one. I mean, stop for a second and think about what Trey Gowdy said. They drafted an exoneration memo in May of 2016, 2 months before there was an interview of Hillary Clinton, the subject of the probe. I mean, that is extraordinary. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you sit politically. How do you draft an exoneration memo before you've interviewed the key witness? I mean,
can you imagine Robert Mueller drafting an exoneration letter of President Trump before interviewing the president?
The defense of that has been that it's not unusual to draft it in the direction that you think it's going to come out, and then
but you haven't interviewed the key witness, or as Gowdy pointed out, 12 other key witnesses. I just find it extraordinary. And his second question, I think this is actually another important question: was there a second memo pushing towards something else? If that exists, then that's.
I think that's an interesting question where they just sort of trying to get ahead of. They could go in A or B. We don't know. There are lots of questions, and he will answer them. And I feel fairly confident there's not some like big pro-Hillary Clinton conspiracy inside the FBI. And we'll get some answers to those questions.
But don't they have an obligation to show that to the American public?
Well, if it were
there are questions
with the way things leak, I think we would probably know about it. I mean, it would make the system seem a lot more fair. And so if only to exonerate one's reputation and self, I think that they would float out that other side like, oh, we also thought she was guilty, so we did these talking points, blah, blah, blah. We haven't seen anything like that. You know, the word special has been throughout the hearings, both public and behind closed doors. Representative Jim Jordan said to me that his big question was, in fact, about how was that word special really seen? Was it special treatment? I mean, we have a lot of special. We have a special prosecutor. We have a special team within the FBI that was looking at I mean, we have a lot of the uses of that word, but was it special treatment? And I think it's important to get to the bottom of that.
Right. But Steve, what is the end game here? Yeah. Because we keep hearing about investigating the special investigators and the special counsel and opening another investigation. And, you know, the Clinton story has been closed for a long time. Are they actually going to reopen it? Should they find some
if there's new evidence, if there are new facts, if we don't get answers to questions that I think are legitimate questions that deserve answers, you should reopen the probe. You should take a second look. We can't have those kind of things just hanging out there. However, I think the president has complicated this by repeatedly insisting in public on Twitter, after having initially said, look, we're not going to push this anymore.
Right.
Now he's been tweeting, we have to go after Hillary Clinton. You know, why isn't Jeff Sessions doing his job? It gives a political gloss to something that ought to be a fact-based investigation.
Well, it's not over, that's for sure. California's showdown with the Trump administration reaching a new level. Police in the Bay Area now reportedly refusing to help ICE agents in upcoming raids aimed at arresting those violating our country's immigration laws. We'll discuss the growing battle up next.
I'm Admiral Tom Lynch, Chairman of New Day USA. We hear from veterans all across the country. They worry a lot about being in debt and having the money they need for their families. Big credit card balances can add up over time, and now just making the minimum payments can break the family budget. Sound familiar? New Day USA can help.
Our New Day 100 Home Loan for Veterans lets you refinance your mortgage, consolidate your credit card debt, get cash, and lower your payments an average of $640 a month.
With a New Day 100 loan, New Day will even pay for your appraisal. At New Day USA, we understand veterans. My team will take the time to get to know you and look at your total picture. Refinance and take control of your credit card debt. Call New Day USA and get the financial peace of mind that you and your family deserve.
Go to newdayusa.com or call 1-844-329-1572.
I'm 65 and healthy. I'm not at risk.
Even healthy adults 65 and older are at increased risk of pneumococcal pneumonia.
Isn't it like a bad cold or flu?
Pneumococcal pneumonia is a potentially serious bacterial lung disease. In some cases, part of your lung may fill with mucus, making it hard to breathe.
Can I catch it from a pneumococcal vaccination?
No, the vaccines do not contain live bacteria.
Talk to your doctor or pharmacist about how to help protect yourself.
It's your first day on the job. Walk in like you own the place.
Now through Sunday, designer suits at $279. Take 60% off outerwear and sweaters, plus it's buy one, get one free on select items. It's time to like the way you look.
All right, I brought in high protein to help get us moving and help you feel more strength and energy in just 2 weeks. I'll take that.
Ensure high protein with 16 grams of protein and 4 grams of sugar. Ensure, always be you.
Get new floors during Empire Today's gigantic 75% off sale. That's carpet, tile, laminate, and even hardwood, 75% off. Empire makes beautiful new floors easy. See samples in your home, get a free estimate during your appointment, and have your floors professionally installed. Update your floors with Empire and get 75% off carpet, tile, laminate, and hardwood. Schedule now.
800-588-2300 Empire.
Today.
Dinner time is definitely the most stressful time of my life.
Simplify your life with crock-pot meals exclusively from Omaha Steaks. Omaha Steaks has created gourmet meal kits straight from your freezer to your slow cooker.
All you have to do is put it in the slow cooker, turn it on low, and come home to a house that actually smells like you were seriously cooking.
All of these meats are so tender, if it was on a bone, it would be falling off the bone.
Order the Omaha Steaks Crock-Pot Meal Deal for only $99.95. This special combo price includes 4 complete slow cooker meals. That's $6.25 per serving. Plus, order now and we'll include a stainless steel crock-pot slow cooker free. That's a value of $39.99. Try chicken and dumplings, rustic French stew, beef bourguignon, rustic Italian beef stew, Cuban mojo pork, and white chicken chili, plus more meal choices online.
I knew this was going to simplify my life.
Simplify dinner and make your life easier with the Omaha Steaks Crock-Pot Meal Deal and a free crock-pot slow cooker. It's dinner solved. Order now.
Tomorrow. It's a day filled with promise and new beginnings, challenges and opportunities. At Ameriprise Financial, we can't predict what tomorrow will bring. But our comprehensive approach to financial planning can help make sure you're prepared for what's expected and even what's not. And that kind of financial confidence can help you sleep better at night. With the right financial advisor, life can be brilliant.
Well, there's a new front in California's fight to keep its sanctuary city status. Oakland City Council passing a resolution banning police from helping federal authorities enforce immigration laws. The city's mayor saying, quote, "It is no surprise that the bully in chief is continuing to try to intimidate our most vulnerable residents." Acting ICE Director Thomas Homan responding, saying, quote, "For politicians to prohibit one law enforcement agency from assisting another law enforcement agency with a public safety mission is unconscionable and poses dangers for local communities and for the brave men and women who carry the badge." Steve, sanctuary cities are obviously incredibly politically charged. There's been a lot of discussion, but not a lot of debate actually recently as we've talked about immigration writ large. Where is this is this debate going from here? And do we think California is way out in front of where they should be?
I think California, the kinds of things we're talking about here, the kinds of comments that you hear from the Oakland City Council are the thing that drives this polarization.
Right.
They take people who would ordinarily be probably reasonable about accommodating dreamers or who have you, and say, no. These people in California want to avoid us enforcing the law. If you don't like the law, change the law. But don't prevent federal authorities from enforcing the laws that exist.
In your area.
I think it's outrageous.
I think, yeah, we need to point out what ICE is asking for, because I think that people have this impression that they're asking for local authorities to go in on their own and to do these raids. That's not what they're asking for at all. They're simply asking that if they find someone who's committed a previous crime, who doesn't have documentation, who is suspected to be in the country illegally, that they simply take them to a detention center and wait for ICE to get there to interview them. That's all they're asking for. I've seen this happen in Pinal County, Arizona. DHS has a great relationship with them, where the local sheriff's department will bring people to the jail. They treat them very well. They give them a medical exam, a full meal. They wait for ICE to show up, and then it's ICE's problem. But they're not asking for these local authorities to go into these communities and do the raids that ICE now has to do.
In some cases, it's not even that much. In some cases, it's simply the referral. In some cases, it's simply saying, here's the person who's broken the law. Here's what
and that's true. And you saw Katie kind of gesturing in my way. That's because we both have lived in the state of Arizona, and we deal with these issues all the time. I still have a home there. Part of the issue, too, Marie, has to do with the fact that you need communities to report in. You need to have the types of relationships with certain communities so they cooperate. There are many people of diverse neighborhoods in Arizona whom I've talked with who say, you know what, we want it to be done legally. It keeps everybody safer. It keeps everybody on the same track to getting things done legally. You want those people to be working with your local authorities. So when you don't uphold the federal law, when you allow people in your state to break it, it complicates the relationships that you have with people who are here, who want it to see, even on their own behalf, done in a legal manner.
Well, and I think it's a fine line, because you have some police officers, unions, or representatives who will say, we also need even undocumented people to feel comfortable coming to the police. And so this is the challenge with sanctuary cities, that the public debate gets pushed to both sides, and there's not a lot of space in the middle to actually have a discussion. Sandra, there's been some talk that the federal government wants to start arresting these politicians or leaders who refuse to enforce law, who have sanctuary cities. That seems like a fairly extreme.
We'll see where this goes. But
extreme place. But do you think that's where it's headed?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, you've seen the moves by this administration so far, and you've seen judges that are willing to block those moves. So I don't know the answer to that, but I do know that we've all gotten a chance to hear from Thomas Homan, the acting director at ICE, and some of us have spoken with him, and he is adamant about these changes at the local level. This is severely affecting the people who live in these cities and states, and he feels a responsibility to speak out and do the right thing on that.
And we had this illegal immigrant who murdered 2 sheriff's deputies in Northern California in the courtroom just this week, saying, I wish I had murdered more. He was deported twice, came back twice. Those are the kind of people, that criminal element of violent repeat offenders, that is who ICE is really interested in. And it's been very disingenuous to say that they're interested in everyone who comes here illegally, because they're not. They're interested in getting those guys off the streets.
The president, you see Marine One there. He's headed for Joint Base Andrews in Maryland, where he'll hop aboard. Okay, so he has now just arrived there. He's going to hop aboard Air Force One, and they are going to scoot to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. They're visiting, the president is visiting a company called H&K Equipment, and here's what we know he'll be talking about. He's going to mention in his speech later today, touting companies who are giving out those bonuses and pay raises. You've seen that list get longer in just the last few days. The president will say that Pennsylvania alone will benefit from $11 billion this year.